We had turkey on the table today. We also had turkeys on the field. Every single favorite that playing on Thanksgiving lost outright today. So we're going to discuss those three things, the three games, as well as the Week 13 NFL picks against the spread, the 13 remaining games. Before we do, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. It's our famous money laundering t-shirt. But yes, I wore this yesterday, but look, when it's Thanksgiving, you got to wear the same shirt twice in a row, or any Thursday, you got to wear it twice in a row. You get this shirt as well as everything else at the merch store, 20% off. You can get it in hoodie, which I have, long sleeve t-shirt, women's tank top, infant onesie. You can get everything here. Like I said, 20% off. We have a bunch of other stuff as well. You go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Jerks to the College Years, where I made fun of people. And then Safety and a Field Goal, which is a top 5 topic book about the NFL. And also, please consider super chats, super stickers. That's the best way to support the show. It really is, because YouTube ads pay us nothing. And, we've had some great super chats and super stickers. Kevin Kovac helping us out earlier this week and last week, past few weeks, actually, just some monster super chats, super stickers, and other guys. Slew helped us out too, John Sanders in the past, and a bunch of other guys. So I want to say thank you so much on this Thanksgiving. We just want to thank you so much, guys, for keeping the show going, because really that's what it takes, because I always say this, and it's true, YouTube ads are really bad with revenue. So we're joined tonight by Evan Daniel. Evan, how are you? How was your Thanksgiving? How's your week 12? How's everything?
Happy Thanksgiving. You can see I'm very giddy today because all three favorites lost. And those of us who are in Circus Survivor, our equity almost doubled in a couple of hours. So that's the most important thing for the day for me, something that I spend a lot of time on. And, we go back a couple of weeks. I had a few conversations with you, with Andy, with two of my partners. The minute we heard that Burrow might be back, we said, well, if they're not mathematically eliminated, he's going to play if he's healthy, right? Obviously, if he's healthy. And Andy commented, and this is going back maybe 2 or 3 weeks, that if they lose the last few games, they're not going to play him at 3-8. I said, there's no way that's the case. If he's healthy and not mathematically eliminated, which they won't be even with those 2 losses, he's going to play. And we have not liked the way the Ravens have looked. Even since the Miami game that they won 28-6, they have not looked good. And I said 3 weeks ago, if it's Burrow, I have no interest in Baltimore. So we shaded all of our picks to use Baltimore last week against the Jets as a 14-point favorite. And all our eggs now are on the Eagles. Obviously, we weren't touching the Cowboys-Chiefs game. Both of those teams are Christmas potential picks. And we already used Detroit and Green Bay, so that wasn't a question. Obviously, we also used Chicago. So we were locked into Philly. Whether there was an injury or not, we last week, taking the Ravens, locked ourselves into Philly, and hopefully Philly doesn't fall tomorrow as the 4th and final favorite. And if that's the case, then there was nothing that we could have done, right? So when we pick these games, when we plan for these games as the weeks go on, figuring out the path forward, it's obviously a lot of luck. Nobody gets through 20-0 Survivor without a lot of luck, not even just a little luck, a lot of luck, because avoiding upsets is very difficult. But what we can do is put ourselves in a position with 7-point favorites or better almost every single week, and trying to avoid teams like tonight. Like tonight, I told you last night when you guys were on your show that I loved the Bengals tonight at 7. I thought that line was absurd. I made the line 4.5. In recalculating my lines now with my slight upgrade to Cincinnati and slight downgrade to Baltimore, I would make the line on a neutral field 2.5. So in Baltimore, I'd probably make it 3.5. And that's assuming T. Higgins plays and Hendrickson plays. So I thought 7 was an absolute joke. I almost submitted my picks early. I would have submitted picks early for the Super Contest had I gotten Dallas at 3.5 and Detroit at 2.5. I was on Detroit today, obviously lost. We'll talk about that. And I was on Dallas today, but I thought at 3, I didn't want to pick it, and I didn't want to submit early. But Cincinnati, I thought +7 was an absolute bargain. And from a Survivor perspective, there was no way that I wanted any part of tonight's game. I told you, I wrote in your chat last night that Burrow in the games last year, one of the games he played without Higgins, and Chase had 264 yards receiving in that game. In both games, Burrow combined for 820 yards passing. So I just didn't want anything to do with the Survivor pick. And now, very excited that there's now, what is it, 500 and 538 Circa survivors left out of 18,700. The Grandissimo is down to three. 3 out of 6 had Baltimore and obviously lost. So that's very exciting for those people. But yeah, so I'm excited. Last week was a tough week picking games. It was a very, very bad week for us again, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll get back on the right track. Hopefully we'll give good information on both sides so people are not saying, oh, I want Evans picks or Walt picks, but really take the information and do what you will with it. So hopefully we'll be able to give you some nuggets for both sides of every game or just stay away from the game. But yeah, all about Circa Survivor. Fly Eagles, fly tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, we were backdoored in that Seattle game, which is pretty rough. But still, not a great week, as you were saying. And I think you have to know that you made the right move with Survivor. I mean, taking the Ravens when you had Joe Burrow coming back. Now, I also made the line 4.5, but I was worried about Burrow's health. Like, what if we came back and just kind of like desperate to come back and wasn't 100%. That's what I was worried about. Obviously hindsight's 50-50, as Cam Newton once said, but I do wish I had bet Cincinnati. But Baltimore, that's the key thing. Baltimore has not looked right ever since Lamar Jackson has been dealing with this moving leg injury. 3 weeks ago it was a knee. 2 weeks ago it was an ankle. This week it was a foot, it's a toe. I don't understand why it's a different injury every week, but he's not running. Like, he ran 6 times tonight. So maybe the mini bye will help and they'll get better after that. But Cincinnati definitely looks stronger. And you're right. Like, Hendrickson's going to be back at some point. Higgins is going to be back. Maybe not next week, but the week after, surely, when they play Baltimore again, and that's going to be in Cincinnati. So that's going to be an interesting game. And Cincinnati plays the Buffalo next week. And if our resident Bills fan, John Sanders, were on here, he would be absolutely mortified playing the Bengals with Burrow because he knows the Bengals have had the Bills number. So, I was saying yesterday, if the Bengals swept the Ravens, they'd have a really good chance at winning the division, and because they only be one back with the tiebreaker of Baltimore. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it looks suddenly Cincinnati is in the mix, and my bet on the Bengals to miss the playoffs is suddenly looking a little grim. I'm not going to give up on it, but it looks a little grim. But and then if you had the Chiefs to miss the playoffs, you're looking pretty good because Chiefs were they're abysmal today. Their defense is awful. Their offense clicking at times. They did make some mistakes. Rashi dropped the pass. Kelsey dropped the pass. But their defense looked awful. Or maybe Dallas's offense is that good. Like, I don't know. What do you make of that? Like, where do you put Dallas?
First of all, before I get to Kansas City on Lamar ran a little bit better tonight. I thought he looked better moving in the pocket tonight than he did the last couple of weeks. He looked a lot slower. And obviously he took 3 sacks today, which is not great. But he threw the ball downfield. His receivers dropped some passes. And I thought he looked a little better. Now, statistically, they had over 6 yards per play, and Cincinnati 4.8. So really the game came down to some of those fluky turnovers, some of those fumbles. They fumbled going into the end zone. It took 7 points off the board. They fumbled in their own zone before halftime. That gave Cincinnati 3 points. Their defense was pretty good in the tight red zone, so I thought that was good. And obviously Burrow wasn't super sharp. He had a lot of incomplete passes. He had a lot of balls that kind of threw out of bounds. So, but I just look at that as, he's been rusty. He hasn't played in 2 months. Lamar did look a little better tonight than he had last week and the week before. But as a whole, their offense, just something's wrong. Henry only had 10 carries tonight. I got it. They were down 2 scores late, so they kind of got away from the run game. But Henry's got to be a bigger impact, and he had 60 yards rushing, 6 yards per carry. So it's not like Henry's getting 10 carries for 26 yards. He's got to be more of a focal point. I think Cincinnati's got a real chance. Obviously, we know how much how well they do playing Buffalo. It's going to be a huge game. I don't expect them to win in Buffalo, but I mean, that defense, we made fun of the linebackers. I was looking at the PFF grades for their linebackers. They rank 83rd, 82nd, and 75th out of 83 linebackers. That's pretty bad. So I still don't look at Cincinnati as a team that's going to make the playoffs, but they're going to have to run the table again, like they did last year, and they're going to need some help. But certainly if they can beat Baltimore again, they'll probably control their own destiny if they win out. But it's a long way to go. So moving on to the Kansas City game, Kansas City's defense really did not look good today. But I think Dallas is so improved. I now have Dallas. I actually, with my downgrade on Baltimore, maybe an unwarranted move, but I moved Dallas up to 8th in my power rankings. I had them 11th going into the week. and now I have them 8th. And that is much higher than I ever would have expected. Dak looks pretty good. The receivers look great between Pickens and CD. That's a dangerous combo. Ferguson's not bad. Javonte Williams is much, much better than I thought. And their run defense has been awesome since the trade. Since Quinn Williams is there, run defense has been great. Overshown being back in the lineup has been a big help for them. So their team as a whole is just playing with much, much greater intensity defensively. Offensively, we know they're really good. I still don't know what happened when we took them a couple weeks ago, Monday Night Football against Arizona. But something's off in Kansas City. I can't point my finger on it, but they're not going to make the playoffs, Kansas City. I don't think they're going to run the table. And the fact that they've already lost to the Chargers and they lost to Jacksonville and obviously they lost to Denver, they're behind the 8 ball on all these games. They don't have the tiebreaker on all these games. And if you look at Jacksonville's schedule, Jacksonville obviously plays Tennessee twice down the stretch. Jacksonville also plays the Jets. So what's Jacksonville? Jacksonville has 8 wins already, or it's 7 wins?
7-4.
Yeah. Jacksonville is 7. So you can book Jacksonville for 10, and that's assuming they lose the other games, which are Denver, Indy. Who else? They play Indy twice and Denver. So if Jacksonville, even if they go 3-3 and they get up to 10 wins, Kansas City's got to run the table. There's no room for error anymore with Kansas City. They have 5 more games. They got to win all 5. Any loss, and they're basically eliminated. So I don't know what to make of Kansas City. I still have them as a top 3 team, but something's wrong there. They can't finish drives. We talked about their red zone failures. The defense today was awful. They probably should have lost last week. But I think if you ask me to bet right now, I would tell you Kansas City is not going to make the playoffs.
Well, it's they're hard to bet against, but yeah, right now they don't look too good. Maybe Patrick has the answer here. The second Taylor Swift wasn't in the stands, and knew Mr. Pfizer and his team were going to lose. Yeah, because they shot to Brittany Mahomes, and Mahomes scored a touchdown. And my dad's like, wait, that's not Taylor Swift. So I was like, wait, where is she? So yeah, maybe that's the reason why. Andy says that's a totally different Dallas defense from a month ago, which is absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Quinn Williams, Logan Wilson, just 2 great additions. And then Patrick, I wonder what you think about this parlay, Evan, because you like those parlays with the lower numbers. Goddard 25 yards, Hurts 20 rushing yards, Odunze 30, and Devontae Smith 30, boosted to plus 394. What do you think?
No, I don't like the payout.
Okay, I would put in Barkley in there somewhere personally.
Yeah, I would go Barkley in there. I'd probably go AJ Brown instead of Devontae. Devontae's been missing practice this week. I know he's playing, but he missed practice. So you never know with those receivers. One of them can get completely shut out. I wouldn't play Devontae Smith this week at all. I do like the Hurts. I like Odunze. I would add some Caleb Williams rushing in there. Caleb has been very good avoiding sacks this year. He still holds the ball a little too long, but he's been avoiding sacks. So in the pocket, he's been moving around. I would look at him in that 10 to 15 rushing yards range. And I would look at Swift, maybe some receiving yards in there because he's been getting some of those dump offs. Otherwise, I would probably go A.J. Brown over Devontae Smith for some of those short yardage. And like you said, Saquon, maybe throwing him in. I would probably go for Saquon. I would go like the rushing and receiving combo. And you can probably put something together with a three or four more legs that get you up to like plus 700 range.
Yeah, it makes sense. I do like the Barkley matchup on the ground. We'll talk about that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting game next week, Dallas versus Detroit. Coach Dan 4th and 20 from around 15. Let's go for it, Campbell. That was the Packers won today. The the questionable call I think that everyone talks about was that false start. Even my dad was like, he's like I can't believe they rigged the game because and then my dad was he was furious about the officials. He's like, why do the Chiefs never get any calls? Which is like a completely different viewpoint from what everyone had last year when the Chiefs seemingly got every call. But this there were the Chiefs. I saw a report saying they were kind of like refuting the refs or something like that after the game. I'm not sure exactly what they were doing, but they were pretty angry at some of the calls. So the refs did miss some calls in that game, but I don't think the officials decided that game though.
No, the officials didn't decide the game. You and I talked about it while it was happening. I disagree with you. I thought that the catch on the first fourth down. It looked like he had the ball first, and then as he was kind of shifting it, it didn't look like he had control of the ball. There's not really a good shot of it. So I understand if you call it a touchdown, it's hard to overturn. But from the frame by frame that I was taking a picture with, the one that I clipped and sent you, it looked like the ball was kind of between his shoulder pads and his arm, not necessarily in his hand. And then his right foot was off the ground. So to me, if you ruled it not a catch, I don't think there was any evidence to overturn it, but I understand the call. The other one was egregious. There was clearly a full start. Heads up play by LaFleur, recognizing the full start and immediately calling timeout. You see him watching the play. He sees the movement and he immediately signals the timeout. So heads up play by LaFleur, brutal call by the referees. I mean, that's really pathetic that they get that. And they handed 4 points right there. Now, I don't think it made a difference because at the end of the day, Campbell is just a little crazy. First of all, I wholeheartedly agree with being aggressive. I'm the first person to say I love aggressiveness in general. But when you're down 10 with 9 minutes to go, 7 minutes to go, it's 4th and 3 in that situation. And also, I think it was from the 21-yard line. So if it's a goal to go situation, I can understand going for it because if you get the 4th down, you're getting a touchdown, right? Mm-hmm. And if it's a deep field goal, if it's a 60% chance of a field goal, then I also understand like, hey, you're not necessarily a gimme to take 3 points. Going for it makes sense. But if you go for the 4th and 3, you're not guaranteed to get the touchdown anyway, and you need 2 scores. So I thought that was a stupid move by him to not at least take the attempt from 39 yards. And then earlier in the game, they had multiple situations where one time it was 4th and 3, and they ran a draw, very creative. And then the play where they went for 4th and 3 and threw the ball, on the 3rd and 3, they ran a draw again. I thought those were 2 really poor decisions, and not just the play call. Forget the go for it, not go for it. 3rd and 3 later in the game and a 4th and 3 earlier. Both were simple draws. I did not like the play calls in those situations at all. I didn't like some of the plays where they were running to the outside. There were multiple plays where I saw Jameson Williams and Gibbs trying to be like Barry Sanders from back in the day, where they would just kind of run backwards, run around, trying to make a play with their speed. It wasn't open. So credit to Green Bay's defense. They looked really good. I thought Jordan Love had a really good game. So I don't think the refs decided the outcome. I thought it was more Campbell and the play calling and the poor execution. So, yeah, the refs gave some points to Green Bay, but Green Bay certainly deserved the win. I still would pick the Lions. Obviously, losing St. Brown early in that game was a big difference. There were some guys playing that I didn't think belonged in that game. And obviously, St. Brown is a big third down weapon to have. So I would still favor the Lions, and I still think the Lions are the better team. But the Lions, I said to you last night that the winner of this game is going to win the division. So congratulations to Green Bay on winning the division. And Detroit right now is going to have a big problem. I'm taking a look at their schedule now, but at 7-5, they might have a hard time making the playoffs.
Yeah, they play Dallas next week,
and then they play at the Rams.
Jeez, yeah. Yeah, that's my other ticket on the team that missed the playoffs is Detroit. So, oddly enough, like Detroit's almost looking to miss the playoffs, looking better than Cincinnati right now. I don't know. I still would take the Bengals to miss the playoffs, but
I would take I actually think the Lions will still make the playoffs because I think they'll beat the other teams after that. But I think next week's a huge game. Obviously, playing Dallas at home, and I make the line right now 2.5. I know the advanced line was 5.5, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I wonder if that line moved at all after today's games.
I'm saying 3
right now. Yeah, I'm seeing 3.5 now. So yeah, they opened at 5.5. Now it's down to 3.5. If there's no St. Brown in that game, I would go under a field goal.
Yeah, me too. That seems like a good number for Dallas. It's actually a game. It's not a short week for these teams because they obviously play today, so they get a full week off, unlike the other Thursday games. So.
And I have Dallas ahead of Green Bay. I have Dallas playing better because I think Dallas's offense is better. I know Green Bay's defense is better, but I think Dallas. I always prefer the offense to the defense. I think Dallas's offense right now is top 5 in the league.
Well, they tied earlier in the year, and that was without these defensive players and CeeDee Lamb. So, no, granted, it wasn't Dallas, and Green Bay wasn't playing all that well down that in that stretch. They just lost to Cleveland. So, I think they are pretty close. So, I did move Dallas to Group B. Where specifically in Group B, I'm not sure yet. I'm not going to do my power rankings until Sunday night, like once all the other teams play. But they will be in Group B, which is
Would
top
you have
10, top
Dallas right
11.
now ahead of the Ravens?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, the Ravens are not playing well, but a mini bye could certainly help Lamar Jackson. And what you were saying earlier, like he did look better running to start the game, but as the game went on, he stopped running, and I thought that was a major key. Like maybe he aggravated whatever's bothering him. So he really needs this mini buy, and it could really help him. So we'll see if he follows the same pattern in practice, if it's DMP full, and I'm kind of curious as to like what injury they diagnose him with this week. Is it like, as Andy said yesterday, is it gonna be like hangnail because it keeps moving around? I don't understand how it goes from knee to ankle to toe, but maybe it'll be like elbow or something stupid. Do you take start sit advice for fantasy? Our fantasy shows on Tuesday, but yeah, if you have any questions, you can certainly ask. Okay, so do you want to get to the week 13 games, or is there anything else you want to talk about from today?
No. I think today was a fun day.
Ingrown toenail, yeah.
Ingrown toenail.
Well, that's gonna be DMP. We'll see on Wednesday.
I don't know if you want to touch quickly on the Eagles Bears. Obviously, I mentioned to you last night on your show with Andy that Eagles obviously are my survivor, but I really like the Bears +7. I think this game is going to be a close game. I don't trust the Eagles offense right now. So, and even if they get a lead, I trust that the back door will be open. So I think this game could be frustrating for me as a survivor picker. And I think this game is going to be a close game. I think this is like a 23-20, 24-20. Backdoor is definitely open. It could be a close game back and forth. I'm hoping to see the Eagles defense really show up off of the blown game last week. So that's my opinion of this game. I think if that defense really has the ability, like they did against Detroit, like they did against Green Bay on the road, to really shut down a player like Caleb Williams. We've continued to talk about how lucky Chicago is, but luck breeds confidence because they're winning games. At the end of the day, regardless of the situation, blocked field goal against the Raiders, a fumbled botched snap when the Redskins were running out the clock, the Giants deciding to kick a field goal from the foot-yard line and firing the coach because of it. All these instances happened. Chicago should not be 8-3, but they are. Minnesota comes down, takes the lead. Chicago comes right back down. Sorry, they didn't come right back down. They return a kick at 50 yards and didn't even get a first down and kick a field goal. So, but that breeds confidence. And we've said from the beginning of the season that we thought Caleb would get better as the season goes along. I don't like their defense. You've mentioned numerous times they're missing linebackers, guys in the middle of the field. So we think Saquon could have a better game this week because of that. But they're still winning games, and they're a confident group. And last week, Caleb Williams threw 2 picks that were dropped. So in the box score, he threw 0 interceptions, but he's putting the ball in harm's way. He also had that weird play in the end zone where he kind of just, I don't know what he did, put the ball on the floor for a touchdown. So I'm hoping that Philly's defense could really show up. That's the key for me in the game. I don't think the Eagles put up 27, 30, 31 points, even against a bad defense. So I'm looking for that defense to show up and hopefully win a game like 24-17. But with 7 points, I think getting 7 points is a good number.
Yeah, we disagree on this game. I like the Eagles -7. I think that.
Good. I hope you're right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. For your sake, I'm team Evan here, so I'm rooting for you as well. I just the Bears. Yeah, they're 8-3 and they won games, but they've won close games against horrible teams. Like they needed a last second drive to beat Minnesota. They needed it was a close game against Pittsburgh with Mason Rudolph. Like this is a huge step up for them. And Eagles are coming off a loss as well, so it's not like they're going to be aloof here. And I imagine they're going to be looking at today's slate and seeing every single favorite lose. So that might be something in the back of their minds as well. But to me, this you touched on it as I've been mentioning. Their defensive injuries are just like catastrophic. Now they do get some cornerbacks back this week, but they haven't played in months. Jalen Johnson has not played in months. The other guy hasn't played in like a month and a half or so. So they could be rusty. We don't know if they're going to be 100%, but both their main linebackers are out. And when their main linebacker T.J. Edwards has been out, they've just been awful against the run. Ashton Genty, who is dead last in the NFL in yards before contact, he had his best game of the year by far against the Bears back in Week 4. And I think we could see something similar from Saquon Barkley, who's second to last in yards before contact. Kind of like the second game against the Giants, where he exploded for a 65-yard run.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tank Bigsby also ran for 100 yards. I think we're going to see that sort of performance from the Eagles. I think they're just going to lay it on the Bears and have a huge lead at halftime. Now, my concern is that they could blow the lead again, because that's all they've done this year. But I think, and I mentioned this yesterday, I'm going to be betting the Eagles. And if they're up at halftime, I'm going to hedge it with the Bears at halftime.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so I think that makes the most sense. We like the Eagles, but we can't submit this on the card. So we will get to the other games, but wanted to mention this post first. Had Christian Watson for king of the end zone on DK, trying to figure out what the bonus amounts are. Not one that has luck with free bets, but turned in to do my research. Yeah, well, I had Watson as well. So if we both had Watson, maybe a lot of people had him too. I was like a little more optimistic about it, because there was you could have gone with CeeDee Lamb or St. Brown or Pickens or Rashee Rice or Henry, or there's a bunch of other guys you could have gone with. And I took Watson. So I was like, yeah, maybe we'll win a few $100, but now that you came in and say that, I'm not, I don't know. My guess, we'll see how close I am. I say we're going to win $114. I don't know. Does that sound right? What do you think? What's your guess?
I have no idea. I didn't even see. I didn't see that.
I think it's like
some of those specials. I sent you the FanDuel. What is it? Share a leg.
Yes. We shared the leg and we lost together.
I put in like 11 legs or 10 legs, and you sent me back the bet. I'm like, where are your legs? I just hit it Andrews. By the way, did we hit Andrews? I don't even know if we hit it.
Yeah, we hit Andrews. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I said, where's your legs? I thought you were going to hit like 5 or 10 legs, and you get. Oh no, I just hit it Andrews.
I saw 10 legs. I'm like,
so
10 legs. I'm gonna do like add 10, have 20 or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I thought we were gonna put down like $20 to pay off like $500,000 or something.
I was actually when you sent me that, I was walking my dog, so that's my excuse for only adding Andrews.
Okay.
But
next year we'll pay attention to share a leg.
Is it next year? Is it only the one?
I don't know. I think it was about a turkey leg. I think that was the whole premise of the bet.
I guess maybe they'll do it for Christmas, because you can have turkey on Christmas, right? Like,
I don't know. For me, Thursday night is pizza night in my house. So
pizza night.
Watched that football for 10 hours and had pizza.
Nice. I had so much food today. I came home and I was unpacking leftovers my mom gave me. I went to my parents' house, and like the mere sight of the food made me like almost vomit. Like I was so full. And I actually I ate so much I had to take a nap at halftime of the Ravens-Bengals game. Like I just passed out. I set my alarm for 20 minutes. I actually woke up with 9 minutes to go in the third quarter, so I missed the first 6 minutes of the third quarter. So I don't know what happened. I was so out of it. I was like, it felt like such crap. I feel so good now though after that like 20-minute nap. I might have to do that on these Thursday night games from now on. I should feel really good. Bet the Dak overs at Detroit, especially Perkins. Perkins. Well, I do think Dak overs Detroit makes sense. Yeah. I said Watson too. Just had a feeling. Yeah, I had that feeling too. Initially, I was like Jameson Williams, but then I went to Watson. So I think the jackpot was $2 million there. So they divided by how many people bet Watson. So. Hopefully, we were the only two to do it, and we both win $1 million. What do you think about that? I'll take it. But probably not going to happen. Actually won one of those earlier in the year because FanDuel has that for like first touchdown, last touchdown. It's like $1 million each. And I bet Mark Andrews in the Ravens-Dolphins game. And I thought I was sneaky doing it because you could have taken Lamar, you could have taken Henry, you could have taken Achane. I was like, oh, I'm going to go Mark Andrews here. And he scored the first touchdown. I'm like, sweet, when am I going to win? Like $600, $800, and it turned out to be $50. So wasn't all that great. But anyway, let's get to the Sunday games. We have the Texans at the Colts. The Colts are favored by 3.5. It was 4.5 yesterday, now down to 3.5. And there's a fundamental change here, I think, which is the news that Daniel Jones is going to be playing on a fractured fibula. He's going to be playing on a broken leg, apparently.
Probably not a good game to be playing against Danielle Hunter.
No. Will Anderson, none of these guys. It's although Will Anderson today's DMP with a chest injury is something to watch there. But I saw today someone say, I think it was Ian Rappaport saying, Daniel Jones plans on playing with a fractured fibula, but one source said he looked good today. It kind of reminded me of like these, these communist regimes like North Korea who do those parades, like trotting out those like nukes. And like they're like, oh, look what we have, that kind of reminded me of that. It's like, hey, we have Daniel Jones. He's playing on a fractured leg, but he's looking good. I don't know. I have reservations about him playing well in this game, and I had no interest in this game yesterday. But now that I'm hearing that a quarterback on a broken leg is playing as a 3.5-point favorite against one of the best defenses in the NFL, how do you not take Houston? It seems like, and I already was like neutral on the game. I could see either side covering, but now with this news, Houston looks a lot better, and apparently people with money agree because they took it down from 4.5 to 3.5. So yeah, I like Houston quite a bit here with the news. What do you think?
I was on Houston to begin with before the news. I thought I made this line 3.5 with a healthy Daniel Jones because I have, as you know, been high on the Texans all year. I think this defense is the best defense in the league. Last week, they were absolutely dominant, 8 sacks against Buffalo, although we'll talk about Buffalo later. They're missing some offensive linemen, so that could be part of the reason. And obviously, Indianapolis has a much better O-line. Indy's coming off of a blown game, and I think the pressure is going to start to mount. And a couple of weeks ago, I had multiple entries in Circa, and I used the Colts in both because as I looked ahead on the schedule, specifically starting last week, there were really no games down the stretch that I would say, you know what, I think Indy is a viable option. Now, looking back, maybe Indy's a more viable option against Jacksonville, but home game against Jacksonville. But I still wouldn't want that as a divisional game. I think there's a world where Indy could lose the majority of their games left and not make the playoffs. Now, I have a ticket on Houston to win the division at plus 750 from like 2 months ago. As soon as they started with that poor start, I thought Indy, I didn't think they were frauds, but I didn't think they were this good. And I really thought Jacksonville was frauds, although they've won a bunch of games. As I'm looking at the schedule, there's a chance if Houston wins this game, Indy is now going at Jacksonville, at Seattle, Niners in their next 3, and then they close Jacksonville and at Houston. So after starting 8-2, would it surprise you if they finish 10-7? They might still make the playoffs at 10-7, but it absolutely wouldn't surprise me. So I think all the pressures in the world now on the Colts, healthy Jones or not, and Houston's coming in. Defense will travel. So I think the defense is strong there. I just worry about Stroud. Stroud has not been good. And I heard some people who know football. I watch a lot of the NFL matchup with Greg Cosell and some of those guys. And they talked about how this year, Stroud's one of his responsibilities was to help the line with protections. And I guessed this as I'm watching because I said the line is just so bad that there's got to be something on the quarterback to help his line with movement of protections. And Greg Cosell, or one of the guys on that show, pointed out that Stroud is not doing that. Mills was better at doing that, as helping his line with protections, than Stroud was. So I wonder how Stroud comes back and could hold up with a poor offensive line because their offense hasn't looked bad the last 2 weeks. But I'm getting 3.5 points. To me, it's a no-brainer to take Houston. Absolutely no-brainer. I think Houston's a live dog. Do I think they'll win? I don't know. I haven't really given it as much thought since the news. I originally had it as a field goal game, maybe Colts winning by a field goal. But if Jones is compromised and not able to run or not able to move as much in the pocket, and he's going to get smothered by that D line, I would take Houston to win the game outright.
Yeah. We sound like we both like this game a lot. Do you want to put it on the card or?
Yeah, for me, this is on the card. Now, I told you, I said we should think about submitting early because if we're getting 3.5 Dallas, I really like it. Detroit -2.5, I really liked it. Bengals 7, I loved. And Bears, I could have taken all 4 games had we agreed on those 4. Obviously, we disagreed on 2 of them. so we weren't going to submit early. So there were not a lot of games that I like besides for Houston. There's one other game that I love a lot.
Mm.
Maybe another one, but we'll talk about it. So I really don't have a lot of games that I like going forward. Texans for me is a definitive pick. This would be my number 2 game of the games remaining.
Okay, yeah, I like quite a few games this week, so maybe I can talk into some. DJ injury has to be worth in 1 point in the line. The first time he gets hit, it could be the last play of the game. Yeah.
If I take a point off my line there, 4.5 becomes 3.5. I would have the line. I would have the line -3.
Mm-hmm.
I made it 3.5. So with the Jones, if he is really compromised, I guess I would make it 2.5, 3.
I saw some people on Twitter today say, "Hey, it's Anthony Richardson time," and I'm like, "Wait, he's on IR. It's Riley Leonard who's the backup for the Colts. That's not good." I know Richardson's not very good either, but Riley Leonard.
You don't like Riley Leonard?
It's not really. If Riley Leonard is not the starter, Texans would be my pick of the month. I think Riley Leonard against this defense. Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare for the Colts. Anyway, let's get to the next game. Cardinals and Buccaneers. Kind of a shame. This game kind of. I thought I'd have a lot more interest in this when we discussed this a week ago, because we're looking at the advanced line and that was Tampa -5.5. I'm like, wait, I had this at like Tampa -2.5 or something, and I thought this line was just way off. And I still like Arizona a little bit, but they have a lot of injuries right now on the injury report. Just like Walter Nolan has been great for them ever since he came back from injury. He hasn't practiced yet, for example. One of their starting corners is out, and they have several more injuries here, so it's kind of brutal for them. And after thinking about it, Teddy Bridgewater was awful against the Rams, but he did not have any starting reps. And as we saw with Shador, starting reps can do a lot for you because you could dump the ball off to forget a 66-yard touchdown. So Teddy Bridgewater is going to be better this week. And part of that is that he's not going to be playing the Rams defense, the number 1 defense. Not that the Cardinals are that bad or anything, but still it's a downgrade for him. And we've seen, teams that are average or above rally around their backup quarterback. So I could see the Tampa doing that. I do think these teams are close to even. I think Tampa's a little bit better. So I think with Bridgewater, this line is off, but there are a lot of, like, with the injuries and the the motivational edge for Tampa. I think that there are enough edges there to kind of get me off the game. So I don't have any interest in this one. What do you think?
Well, I think the Bucs are not even with the Cardinals. I think the Bucs are a good 3.5, 4.5 points better if Baker was healthy. If you tell me it's Teddy Bridgewater, I'm on the Cardinals. Now, do I want to take the Cardinals as a contest pick? Probably not. We're getting 3 at Circa. The super contest line is 2.5. There's no way I'm touching it at 2.5. At 3, maybe I'm playing for a push. Baker practiced in limited capacity. I have no idea what that means. It looked like he threw his arm literally out of his socket. Granted, it's his left shoulder. I don't know how that happens. I'm not a doctor. I can't explain to you the mechanics of him throwing with his right hand and his left arm falling off. So him practicing limited makes me wonder if there's a chance he could play, if he can gut it out. Because I do think they're the better team. And if he plays and he's 80%, I would expect the Bucs to win, but I wouldn't lay Bucs -3. Teddy Bridgewater is not an NFL quarterback. I get it. Shador had a week of practice, and you could say, all right, with a game plan around him. Teddy Bridgewater was coaching high school football last year. He can't play. He just can't throw. He can't manage. He's a game manager at best to come in for a series and hand the ball off. I can't ask Teddy Bridgewater to win a football game. So I wouldn't be on Tampa. Knowing that there's a chance Baker could play, I can't be on the Cardinals either. So this is an easy path. This is my lowest ranked game. Maybe my second lowest ranked game, but it definitely among the two. So I wouldn't bet this in any capacity.
Okay, well, we can move on then. Not much interest here for our other side. All right, Jaguars at the Titans. This line is Jaguars -6. It was 6.5 yesterday. So there's some money coming in on Tennessee, which, that's, I can't believe I'm saying this. That's the side I'm on. First time I'm taking Tennessee since week 1. Actually, no, I think I took Denver week 1. Now that I think about it. So this is the first time I'm taking Tennessee all year. I can't believe I've not been replaced by a body double here. I am taking Tennessee just because I think that a couple of reasons. First of all, I think the Jaguars are in a rough spot here. They're coming off an overtime win. Now they're traveling. They're playing a team that's 1-10, and next week they have the Colts. So kind of a sandwich / look ahead here for the Jaguars. Now I know this is a divisional game, but you have to think about it. If you're a player in the Jaguars, you're like, okay, we have the Colts coming up that could decide the division. We'll take care of the Titans, then really focus on the Colts or focus on the Colts now even. So I don't know how they respect Tennessee, like even though they're a divisional opponent. And the other thing is that Cam Ward has played a little bit better recently. He still holds on to the ball too long, but now he's actually scrambling, which he wasn't doing earlier in the year. And I was really confused about that because he was a scrambler in Miami and he wasn't running. And then after last week's game where he ran the most he's ever had in a single game as a pro, his coach came out and was like, yeah, he's really progressing now. He's learned to run the ball. And I'm like, aren't mobile quarterbacks, aren't they run first to start and then they become pocket passers? Like, why is this like the opposite? It's like Benjamin Button almost. Like, I don't understand it. And then Jeffrey Simmons is back on defense. He's been back the past 2-3 games. Ever since he's returned, Tennessee's defense has been a little bit better. And Shamari DK has emerged as a solid weapon. And also a punt return. He's returned 2 punt touchdowns to the last 3 games. So he might get, even if he doesn't score, he might get some yardage there to help Tennessee kick some field goals or something. So, I'm no fan of Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is a complete fraud at 7-4. They needed overtime to beat the Raiders and the Cardinals. Like, how good is this team? So I'm inclined to take the Titans. Does that mean I want to put them on the card? Probably not, but I am. I don't know if I'm going to bet them either, but Tennessee is the side for me. I can't believe I'm doing this, but what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm with Tennessee as well, but there's no way we're putting this on the card. I don't have the guts to put them on the card. I don't have the guts to bet Tennessee. I'm just not going to do it, right? I agree. Shamari DK is really, really good. Every time I watch Tennessee, and I've watched them way too much because I constantly am picking against them in Survivor. So that's the only guy on the team that really scares me. Ward has looked better lately, right? And Lawrence continues to be awful. You talk about quarterbacks that have arm talent, right? And we'll get to some quarterbacks who I think are good quarterbacks because they know how to play the position, but they don't have the arm talent. Lawrence obviously has an arm. He's got a great arm, but he has no idea how to play quarterback. He's sailing the ball high. He's inaccurate. Granted, his receivers drop a lot of passes. But again, last week, 3 more picks. They almost blew that game. They almost blew that game multiple times. Mm-hmm. In the overtime, they had to settle for a field goal. Before the overtime, they ended up settling for a field goal. They can't run out the clock. And their run game wasn't terrible last week. Just Lawrence kept turning the ball over. So this is not a team where I would lay points with. I made this line. I think the line is fair at 6. I don't think this line should be 3, and I definitely don't think the line should be more than a touchdown. But the Titans continue to fight. Even last week when they were down multiple scores, what was it, 30-10 at one point? They're still fighting. They're still fighting during the game, so I see no reason why they would quit if they're down by 14. And I could see this game being close. There was a part of me that considered the Jaguars this week for Survivor. And that's if I get through the Eagles, we have to make another pick for Sunday. And there were 3 games that I'm looking at, and the Jaguars were one of the games. And I said, I don't really want to take the Jaguars as a road divisional game. We could take the Jaguars maybe in week 18 when they're home against Tennessee, potentially playing for a playoff spot. Although we know how the AFC South has been the last couple of years with that team that's a 10-point or 7-point favorite playing for a playoff spot and loses outright. So I'd never trust the Jaguars to win at all, let alone cover. So for us, I think now, easy pass for us as far as contest picks go.
Okay, not even a maybe. Just
I don't think so. I mean, I had this game as a low-scoring game. You have to take a look at the weather around the country this week. I know that there's some weather in the forecasts. I mean, I know it's hard to predict weather, but there were a bunch of games, especially on the East Coast, that have rain and wind in the forecast. And Trevor Lawrence is one of those quarterbacks that I have no desire to take when there's weather in the forecast. He tends to fumble. He drops the ball. He's not careful with the balls. He moves around in the pocket. I'm just looking for the updated weather report now. Yeah, it just says chance of rain. I
Yeah,
don't see
I'm seeing 40. Hold on. I thought I saw.
42 degrees, chance of rain, wind 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, I'm seeing a 47% chance of rain.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing same wind. So in other words, it's gonna be 65 and it's not even no wind.
Right. But also remember, you have a Florida team
Right.
going into 42-degree weather. So
Right.
I don't like that. I don't want to play a Florida team going into a weather situation where it's going to be cold. Now, obviously, 42 degrees is not cold. You and I live in the Northeast. 42 degrees is beautiful. But if
Yeah.
you live in Florida and you're in Jacksonville and used to 75, and then you go and it's 42 and you already don't like rain or weather, this is not a game where I'd lay points. But how do we take Tennessee?
I don't. I find myself asking the same question. I'm like, yeah, this looks good.
You're just trying to get cute, right?
Yeah, we're backing the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good idea.
By the way, they've covered 5 games. They've won one, but they're covering some games.
Yeah, 3 in a row.
They're 3-0 in the last 3.
Yeah. With although with the help of 2 of those covers wouldn't have happened if they didn't have the punt returns. The punt returns, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they could have it this week.
Part of the game.
Yeah,
DK is good.
Yeah.
That's part of it. DK is very good. He's an explosive, fast, good punt returner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if the Jaguars are aloof here, not really ready for it, he could have another one. So,
right? Can you see Jacksonville overlooking them?
Oh yeah.
By the way, Tennessee has not played a road game since late October.
Wow, I guess that's right because they hosted Seattle last week. They hosted the Chargers before that.
Chargers by
Seattle.
This is their 4th straight home game with a bye in between.
Imagine how bad they're going to be on the road.
That's got to be good for a young team that doesn't have to travel and they can focus on getting better. And they're a team that's trying. They're very poorly coached. Their defense is not good, although Simmons is back. Ward is playing better. I think this game will come down to whether or not Lawrence makes mistakes, and I don't want to bet on him not making mistakes.
Right. Yeah, we feel the same way about this. I don't know. Maybe if we absolutely hate all but 4 games, maybe this is our 5th, but I don't know. We'll maybe circle
back. Come back to it as a maybe if we don't agree on other games, but this would be one of those games where, wow, we have the Titans. That's crazy. I mean, I could see them losing the game 38-10.
Yes. And I think for viewers of the Friday show, I almost guarantee, maybe I don't know if Tom's listening, I almost guarantee Tom's going to talk me into putting the Titans on our card.
By the way, if you're betting this game, I would rather take the Titans on the money line than take the Titans with the spread.
That's fair. Yeah. I think I agree with that. All right. Or you can go nuts and take the Titans -2.5 alt line. It's something like that. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'll tell you why I wouldn't do that. Because if they're down by 7 late, they're a prime candidate to go for 2.
Right.
There's under a minute to go.
That's true.
And they can win or lose by a point.
They are definitely a prime candidate with no head coach really. So
no head coach, season's over. You might as well go for a win. If you have a chance to go for a win, you go for a win. By the way, as far as Jacksonville's concerned, I mean they almost lost to the Raiders, right? The Raiders took them to overtime, scored a touchdown late, and went for 2. And the Jaguars won by 1. What was that, in week 9, I think that was? Yeah.
Yeah, they went to overtime versus the Raiders and the Cardinals.
Team.
Yeah.
Would you take the Jaguars? Would you potentially look at the Jaguars this week in Survivor, or you probably think that, like we just said, no, it's not.
No way. I have 5 entries left in DraftKings, and I am not taking the Jaguars in any of them.
Okay.
No way. Maybe week 18, like you said, but not here. Not with the Colts on deck.
Or, by the way, week 15. Week 15, they play the Jets at home.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see how the Jets are looking. But I can't imagine them being good. So, I guess that also depends on who they play next week because I know they played the Colts twice.
They play the Colts next week.
I know after that they play the Colts twice. So when do they play the Colts the second time? That was my question.
Week 17.
Oh, week 17. Okay, so that would not be a look ahead then. All right. Anyway, let's get to the next game, which is Rams and Panthers. This line is either 10 or 10.5. What is it in the contest?
10.5.
It's 10.5 in the contest. Okay. In both contests. So I call this the Walt and Andy special because I had a stat about how teams gone Monday night games have really struggled this year. And in general, they are like 47% against the spread, like coming back 25 years or so, which makes sense. They're coming off with the brief rest. The other team has more time to prepare. It makes sense. But then we kind of broke down like good teams versus bad teams in this dynamic, and like the bad teams are like awful in the situation, and that makes even more sense because the bad teams need more time to prepare, especially against a better opponent, and that's certainly the case with the Panthers, who, by the way, played on the West Coast. So it's not only a short week; they have to travel across the country. So I think this Panthers team is just going to be completely unprepared for this game, especially with some of the injuries they have. They had injuries to linebacker on Monday night, which Kyle Shanahan took advantage of. They lost the number one corner, J.C. Horn. Two of their offensive linemen probably going to be out. So this team is in a rough situation here. It's a horrible spot for the Panthers, I think. And then you have the Rams, who really they really do well in these early games. Sean McVay and some other coaches, they figured this out, because for a long time, whenever a West Coast team travels to the East Coast, play 1 o'clock, they would always struggle. Like Mike Holmgren had like an abysmal record in that situation. He was like 3-14 against the spread or something in that situation. But for like it was at first, I think the first coach to do it was Jim Harbaugh. He had his Niners. Like they were always awesome in these games, and then McVay copied whatever Harbaugh did, and then Kyle Shanahan has had success. Mike McDonald, by the way, 4-0 against the spread. These teams have figured it out, and I think that they put extra attention to this because they know it's a rough situation. So they seem to have their teams prepared for this. So if there's a question about the Rams having a letdown coming off a national TV win, I don't think it's this week. It could be next week. Next week, the Rams play the who is it? They play the Cardinals.
Arizona. That's a divisional game. I don't see a letdown in that game.
Cardinals are 3-8. They have the Lions after that and Seattle. Like I think that's the look ahead. They're going to look past Arizona because they play Detroit and Seattle after that. So I think this is not the look ahead game. I see the Rams destroying the Panthers. And the last time, and if you're defensive, the Panthers here is, they're better at home, which we had in the chat yesterday. My answer to that is the only other time this year the Panthers played a Group A team at home, they lost 40-9 to Buffalo. So I think this could be a somewhat similar game, although Buffalo is coming off a couple losses in that game. But still, I love the Rams here. Just a much better team, better spot. Seems like a great bet. So I love the Rams. What do you think?
So the comp to the Buffalo game is a good comp, but there's a couple of things here. First of all, I made the line 10. The market's 10 most places right now. I do see some 10.5, some 10. Obviously, contest 10.5. See, I think this could be the look ahead spot because I don't think they're looking ahead in a divisional game. Obviously, they're not looking ahead in when they're playing Detroit or Seattle, but I don't think they're looking ahead when you're talking about a game against Arizona, a team that McVay. I have to look back and see, which coach owns who. We know the NFC West is kind of weird in that scenario, but I don't think they're looking ahead to the Arizona game. I don't think they're going to look past the Arizona game. This could be the week where they're traveling cross country. They just came off a dominating win, and they've been dominating because their defense is one of the top 5 defenses, and defense travels. As far as Bryce Young is concerned, we saw last week exactly what Bryce Young is. That the Niners defense is very, very bad. They're playing well. They're playing hard, but they have no players left. And Bryce Young scored 9 points against that defense. That's pretty pathetic. He threw a terrible pick in the end zone. They were 1 for 7 on third downs. He threw another pick later in the game. They only had 240 yards of total offense for the game. What are they going to do this week against the Rams? There, I agree with you from a matchup perspective. I don't see how Carolina moves the ball. What are they going to do? They're going to hand the ball to Rico Dowdle and hope he picks up 180 yards rushing? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to have a big rushing performance against the Rams defense, and I don't think Bryce Young can throw on the Rams defense. So really it comes down to the motivation for the margin. So I like the Rams here to cover. I think the Rams win this game. I think the comp to the Buffalo game, again, is a good comp. I don't think it's 40-9. I have this game like 30-13. But with a 17-point lead or a 14-point lead, the back door is open. It's not a game that I love. It's not a game that I'm rushing to bet. I agree with you on the pick, but for me, this is not one of my top 5 games.
You were asking about how McVay has done against the Cardinals. He is 15-4 against the Cardinals.
Yeah, so they're a team that they own. I don't think it's a team that they're overlooking, but again, it's more so because that's a divisional game, and they need to win these divisional games. Like just in case they lose to Seattle later in the season, they need to maintain, and they already lost to the Niners, although Seattle also lost to the Niners. They need to maintain wins in the division. they could keep their margin.
I just don't see how they take a 3-8 team seriously. Like, I know it's division, but there's no way they're like, oh, we have the Panthers. Oh man, we have Arizona coming up. We got to.
Well, I don't think they're going to take either of these teams overly seriously, right? I think they go into both games knowing that they're probably going to win by double digits. And I'm not trying to make a case for the Panthers. The Panthers have won weird games. Somehow they beat Green Bay. I have no idea how they beat Green Bay on the road. No clue. I understand how they beat Atlanta. I watched those games. Penix threw the game away. I have no idea how they beat Green Bay. That to me still makes no sense at all. Frankly, I guess I know how they beat Dallas. Dallas' defense in that week was a horrible defense. The Panthers that I know are the team that scores 13 points against the Jets, or 9 points against the Niners and the Bills, or 7 points against the Panthers as a home favorite. So that's the team that I expect to show up here, is the team that scores 9, 10, 13 points. My problem in the game is, do the Rams have motivation for margin? We've seen the Rams, and this is one of the reasons why I liked Tampa last week. And of course, I was dead wrong. Baker getting hurt or not, dead wrong. But the Rams, when they're up big, they don't keep their foot on the gas. We saw this in the Jacksonville game, which was overseas. We saw it last week. They had 3 points in the second half. They don't care about scoring when they have that lead. They were up 17-3 against Baltimore and won the game 17-3. So they don't look for that margin late in the game. They're not trying to throw the ball downfield and put the ball in the end zone. When they have a 2-score margin, they're very happy sitting on the ball, sitting on the lead. They know their defense is going to shut down. So they don't give up the back door, but they don't give you that margin in the fourth quarter like some other teams maybe of the past, or like the Buffaloes of the world, who will just pile on when they're up 27-10 or 27-9. That game ends 40-9. The Rams have not been that team. They've had multiple games where they just haven't scored in the fourth quarter. By the way, the Seattle game, perfect example. 21-9. They kind of went to sleep with the lead. Now, they did end up holding it because of an amazing punt to the 1-yard line, and then held Seattle back. And Seattle actually got off an attempt at field goal. I mean, it was a long field goal. But once again, the Rams didn't score at the end of that game. They had 14 points in the first quarter and 7 the rest of the way. So this is not a team that looks to win by margin, although they have been winning some games by margin. Let me take a quick look and I want to see how many teams they've beaten by. I know they beat the Niners by 16. Obviously, last week they won big. The Jacksonville game I mentioned, they won big. New Orleans, they won big. Tennessee was close really until the end. They won by 2 touchdowns. Listen, if you love the game, I'm not opposed to going against Carolina, because I think the Rams defense will completely shut them down. But I'm just not super confident in the Rams putting up 30 plus.
Okay. 3 games this year the Panthers have played against Group A or Group B. They scored 9, 13, and 16 in those games. Mm-hmm. So, as you were saying, this is the offense we're going to expect in this game.
Yep, I fully expect it. But the over-under is 45. Mm-hmm. So what's the team total for the Rams in the game? So you're looking at
25.
27-17.
Yeah. Which I don't think the Panthers are getting 17. So
I agree with you. I don't think the Panthers are getting 17 either. I think the Panthers are looking at 10, 13, 16 points. Mm-hmm. But are the Rams going for 27, or are they going to be up 24-14 and be very happy? 24-10, and then they win 24-16, and they're very happy winning by 8. I can very likely see a scenario where it's 24-10, and they just control the second half. Maybe there's a touchdown late for Carolina, and maybe they go for 1 or 2, who knows, and the game is 26-17, 24-17, 24-16, 24-18, something in that realm that we're just going to get backdoored like we did with Seattle last week.
Yeah, I mean that took a punt return touchdown, So like, sure. if the Panthers get a punt return touchdown, that if that's how we're going to lose, then so be it. I think we win more often than not in this sort of a game. Taking the Rams.
I would have liked this a lot more at 9.5 than 10.5. Like I said, I don't have a lot of games left. There's 2 or 3 games that I really like. So if this is a game that you would love to have, I'm not opposed to it.
It's one of my top 3 picks of the week. So
okay. If it's one of your top 3, then
I'll put it on the card.
Put it on the list.
Okay. All right.
Again, anytime we can go against Bryce Young against a top defense, I'm comfortable. The Rams are another team I'm considering for Survivor. And the only reason why I'm not locking in Rams, again, if the Eagles win tomorrow, the only reason why I'm considering not using the Rams is because Week 17 is a brutally hard week. And only 101 out of 900, and I don't know how many people who lost today would have had the Rams, but let's just say 100 people have the Rams. Having the Rams available in week 17 is my wild card. The Rams play at Atlanta week 17. It's a Monday night football game. I don't think they would rest starters in that game. If they win the week before against Seattle, they probably lock up the division and maybe likely lock up the 1 seed, depending on how the Eagles do. Obviously, they lost to the Eagles in a game that we lost somehow on a blocked field goal for a touchdown. So I don't know if they'll lock up the 1 seed by then, but even if they do, I wouldn't expect McVay to rest players week 17. Week 18, yes. Week 17, no. But it is a Monday night football game in Atlanta. They would probably be, in my head, 7.5 point favorites in that game, somewhere in that ballpark. Probably a little bit less than what they would be against Carolina. So I'm thinking somewhere in that 7.5 to 9.5 range. And they're probably my best option in week 17, other than maybe Cincinnati, who we saw tonight against, who plays a home game against Arizona. That's probably like a 4.5 point favorite, give or take, assuming everybody's healthy. Pittsburgh plays at Cleveland. I hate that game. The Niners play home against Chicago. I don't like that game either. So there's not a lot of games to take in week 17. And that would be my reason for saving the Rams this week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you have the Rams and you don't have the Chargers, then the Rams are an obvious play.
Yeah, Richard says Seattle or Patriots good for week 17, but
I don't have Seattle available in week 17, and I don't have the Patriots available in week 17 either.
Yeah, so it is pretty rough. Although that's the week where Cincinnati hosts Arizona, right? So
yeah, Cincinnati hosts Arizona. It's gonna be a Saturday game. There's 5 games slated for Saturday. They're gonna choose 3 of them. I imagine that's one of the 3.
If Burrow is
healthy,
then that looks pretty good. So yeah. Anyway, what do you think about this prediction from Clifton? Super Bowl 60 in Levi Stadium. Broncos 42, Rams 17. I don't know how the Broncos score 42 on the Rams defense.
No, that's insane.
Yeah, but in general, if it's Broncos Rams, do you think it could happen?
I mean, it could happen. Sure, it could happen. The Broncos are a candidate to be the 1 seed. Sure, it can happen.
Yeah. I just I'm looking forward to fading.
Broncos scoring 42 points against the Rams. That's not happening. That's crazy.
There would have to be an injury or.
I mean, if you told me it was 22-17, I'd say, all right, I can't wait for that Super Bowl. That's going to be a real bad Super Bowl to watch. But
yeah, just reverse the numbers to make it 24 instead of 42. So let's get to the next game, which is Saints at Dolphins. This was 6. It's down to 5.5. So some money coming in on the Saints, which I'm happy to hear about because I think this line is way off. I might be the only person in the world to think that, I guess, because I made this line -1.5. So I really don't understand what the Dolphins or who they slept with to get 5.5 point favorites here. Really, like, these teams are both garbage. Like, why is Miami -5.5? Just because I guess they won 3 in a row. But they suck. They could have lost to the Redskins in Spain. This team does nothing well outside of running with Achane, and the Saints are pretty good against the run. I think they're 9th against the run. So it's not like a matchup that Miami had in Spain against the Redskins, who are the slowest linebackers in the NFL. The Saints have good linebackers. They have a good run defense. Achane shouldn't do all that much. And so if Achane's not going, what are the Dolphins doing offensively? I just don't really see anything from them. Like, Tua says he can't see over the line of scrimmage. Waddle is he's solid, but not great. So I don't see Miami scoring much. And then you have the Saints against this horrible, like absolutely horrible Miami defense that gets no pressure on the quarterback and can't cover anyone, can't stop the run. The Saints, I like their offense until today. I saw Chris Olave was downgraded to DNP, which is unfortunate. But I'm still going to be on the Saints here just to play on the number, and also a fade of Miami's spot. I don't think this is a good spot for Miami because they won before the bye in an international game, which is a big deal for these players. So they've had 2 weeks to hear about how great they are. They won an international stage. They won 3 in a row. Yada, yada, yada. I don't think Miami's going to have a good effort here per se. Now, they only play the Jets next week, but I think this is a bad spot, as I said, for Miami, and I think the Saints coming off the loss to Atlanta, better spot for them because they were in the same spot as Miami was, last week, because they were coming off a win before the bye. And then they were playing as a favorite when they really shouldn't have been against the Falcons, and they lost. But I think now coming off the loss, I like them better here. I think Tyler Shucks should do better against this horrible Miami team. So I think this is a field goal game probably. Could go either way. I could see the Saints winning outright. So I am on the Saints plus 5.5. What do you think?
So I hate this game. And so I'll start with my power ranking. So I made the game 6. So I 1.5, I think that's way off. I think the line should be 6 because I have the Saints. Take a look at my Saints numbers. I have the Saints number 30 in the league. I have the Saints, Jets, and Titans pretty much a point apart. Miami, I have as a trash team, but I have them minus 3.5, the 24th best team in the league. So I have them a good 4 to 6 points better in general. I hear you on the spot. I hate teams coming off of a win and then a bye. But Miami's won 3 out of 4 to kind of keep their season alive. Now, I mentioned this 3 weeks ago after the Buffalo win when I said I remember I told you that I was considering playing Miami as a contest pick, even though we hate taking international games. And they didn't play well in that game, and they almost lost, and Washington almost lost, and Miami almost lost again because both teams were going for 4th and goal at the 1 with like a minute to go in the game instead of taking a lead. So that didn't make a lot of sense. But Miami won that game. Their season's now relatively still alive. Some of the guys on defense, Sealer, Chubb, these guys are playing better than they did earlier, although they're still not a good defensive team by any stretch of the imagination. But New Orleans is just garbage offensively, absolute garbage. Tyler Shuck's not an NFL quarterback. Neither is Rattler. We said that from day one. Olave, whether he plays or not, Shuck can't get him the ball. Kamara's out. So that's a big problem. They can't run the ball. They can't run the ball short yardage. They were terrible in the red zone. I want to talk about red zone in general. We've talked about how bad Houston is in the red zone this year. So I looked up the numbers. Houston's 44% in the red zone. The league average is about 57%. Houston's number 31 at 44%. The Saints are number 32 at 34%. They are a full 10% worse in the red zone. Everybody who's bad is between 44 and 48, 50% as a below average team in the red zone. The Saints can't score in the red zone because they can't throw the ball in short yardage situations, and they can't run the ball. They were trying to run the ball with Taysom Hill a few times. They were actually handing the ball off from Shuck to Taysom Hill because they don't have any weapons. They at one point from 1st and goal from the 1, they ended up snapping the ball over Taysom Hill's head on 3rd down and settled for a short field goal. So this team is a really bad offensive team. They're only 2 games all season. And again, Shaheed was a part of this. Shaheed's good. Shaheed's gone. They were only 2 games all season where they scored more than 20 points. They had 21 against the Niners in week 2 in a backdoor cover. So they were down multiple scores. And they had 26 against the Giants when the Giants literally handed them the ball 5 times in a row. 5 possessions in a row. There were turnovers and one of Dart's early games. Otherwise, this team can't score. Miami at home, and I can't stand Tua. You know that. I think Tua is a bottom 3 quarterback. You talk about Bryce Young, Tua, Tyler Shuck. You don't get much worse than that when it comes to starting NFL quarterbacks. I think Tua will be a backup next year, and I think he'll be out of the league in a couple of years. But at least at home, they'll be wearing their white jerseys. The Saints will be wearing black. They'll get tired towards the end of the game. And yes, they're better against the run, but Achan's been really good. So I believe Miami is a candidate to win this game. And a few weeks ago, I have my under 7.5 wins. I have under 8.5 wins. I played Miami over 6.5 wins as a hedge. And I think I'm going to middle that at 7. So I think Miami's going to win this game. Now, do I think Miami will cover? I wouldn't want to bet Miami to cover. So I'd probably lean to taking the Saints with the points just because I have no desire to lay points with Tua. And maybe the back door is open. But I absolutely would not play this as a contest pick. And I said this to you last night. You're going to hate my potential survivor. This is my potential survivor. I've already ruled out Jacksonville. Jacksonville was number 3 on my list. I ruled them out because I said I can absolutely see the Titans making that game annoying and close. And I really want to take the Rams, but I also really want to save the Rams for week 17 because if I don't, I feel like I'm going to be screwed in week 17. So I'm very back and forth. At certain points this week, it was definitive. Miami's in. Miami's moved ahead of the Rams. Now, I don't know. I said to one of my partners tonight, if Cincinnati wins and Burrow looks okay, and he didn't look great, but he was fine. If Cincinnati wins, I'm going to have confidence in Cincinnati over Arizona as a week 17 option, which means I don't have to take Tua. because I'm going to feel real stupid if I take Tua and they lose.
Yeah.
And certainly, it's not like this is a gimme, right? It's a 5.5, 6-point spread for a reason, and the Rams are a 10.5-point spread for a reason. So I'd feel less stupid taking the Rams and losing than taking Tua and losing, especially with, again, weather in the forecast. Although as of earlier tonight, the forecast looks like the weather is going to clear by around kickoff, but who the hell knows, right? With weather, you just don't know.
Yeah, it's going to snow.
So I absolutely would not advocate for taking the Saints as a contest pick. I wouldn't lay the points with Miami as a contest pick. I don't like that you like New Orleans as a maybe to win. It makes me a little bit more nervous. And again, makes me feel stupid when we take Tua and they lose 23-16, or he throws 3 picks and they lose 19-16. And the handicap's right. New Orleans can't score, but Tua threw 3 picks and they scored 16. So I don't agree with taking Saints here, especially if I might take Miami with a survivor pick. So from a contest perspective, I'd pass, but I can't imagine. I'm surprised that you actually like here the Saints as a bet.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think these teams are dead even, and
I don't know how you can think they're even.
How not? Like, what does Miami do? What does Miami do well outside of Achane?
And they throw screen passes to Achane.
Yeah, but the Saints have their linebackers. They have really good linebackers to stop him. Like that's like the strength of their team. Their run defense is 9th. I feel like they can defend Achane. So if you take him out as a major threat, it's like what can Miami do in this game? Like.
Well, they can still throw screen passes to Achane because they're going to get him out in space, and he's very, very fast, and he's been very good all season against a lot of different defenses. And you talk about the Saints are good defensively. The Saints are good defensively against who? Atlanta? They just gave up. They just allowed Kirk Cousins to throw the ball 49 yards downfield to David Sills the 5th.
No,
they did not look good last week in a home game.
Run defense, not their Saints pass defense sucks. Run defense is good.
Well, then Jalen Waddle gets open. And Tua somehow miraculously finds him for a bunch of quick screens.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that Miami is a world beater and they're going to put up 30 points like they did against Buffalo. My handicap more on this game is that New Orleans is not going to score because New Orleans doesn't score. They physically don't score, whether they play a good team or a bad team. They had 3 points at home against Tampa. They had 10 points at home against Atlanta. Put up 17 against Carolina. The 10 against the Rams, I get it. The Rams dominated them. Yeah. When they went to Seattle, they got blown out. The Giants game, they scored 26, but the Giants handed them the ball 5 times in a row. It's hard not to score 26 when you have 5 extra possessions.
Well, they scored 17 at Carolina, and I think that could be enough to win. And
that's the problem, right? If they score 16 or 17 and Tua throws 3 picks, it could be enough to win.
Yeah.
But if Tua doesn't throw 3 picks and they're conservative with the ball, see, I think they purposely, I think they knew what they were doing by not firing McDaniels. The players like him. And the players supposedly, from what I read, are playing hard. Now, I don't like, you pointed this out, when you come off a win and a bye and everybody is telling you how great you are, that's never a good spot to be in. Mm-hmm. But they're still seasoned alive, right? The hope is there when they come back and they're practicing. The hope is there. Are they overlooking the Saints? Because, they're the Saints. See, I don't think you can make the argument that the Saints are on equal footing. Because I just think the Saints, Raiders, Jets, and Titans are just a class below everybody else. When the Dolphins have played the junk of the league, they've won. Even though they didn't win big, they still beat Washington. They killed Atlanta on the road. They beat Buffalo in a very impressive game. They were very competitive with the Chargers. They beat up on the Jets. They were close against New England. It wasn't like they got blown out. Again, that's much earlier in the season. But it's not like this team, other than the Cleveland game, which was in the cold, and it looked like Tua didn't want to be there, and he never plays well in the cold, and we need to know that, because anytime they play in sub-40-degree weather, auto bet against. And they were bad against Baltimore, even though Baltimore won 28-6. That game was probably closer than the 28-6 final. But they were never in that game. So I just think when they play bad teams, they're good enough to win those games. And like I said, I hate that I'm considering it, but I am really considering, and I got to make this pick tomorrow, I'm considering using Miami as a survivor. You know how much how much work I put into analyzing survivor games. I had to rewatch this week Dolphins Redskins. Like, I had to suffer through watching that for the 3rd time.
I mean, you mentioned them playing against bad teams. I mean, that Jets game, remember there were 5 fumbles in that game, and the Dolphins recovered all 5 of them. Yep. They should have lost if the Redskins don't muff the punt, at the end. The Redskins probably win that game. And they lost 27-24 to the Panthers, where they got out to a 14-0 lead on Bryce Young interceptions. And so the rest of the way, they were outscored 27-10 by the Panthers. So, like, I can point to those games as games where they just looked awful, too. So I like I said before, I think Miami's defense is awful. The Saints have the better defense, even though their pass defense sucks. At least they can stop the run. Like, Miami can't stop anything, and they can't get to the quarterback at all because they traded away Jalen Phillips. So I think, like I said, I have them right next to each other in the power rankings, like 2 or 3 spots apart. So maybe give the Dolphins a point or something. Maybe it's 2.5 or something, but I can't see this being above 3 personally. So
you're not convincing me to absolutely not consider them as survivor. I'll tell you that much. I'm still considering them as survivor over the Rams, just because I want the Rams in week 17. I'm probably 50-50. And again, it just comes down to I disagree with you on the Saints. I think they're so bad. Their offense is just so bad. And for me, offense is worth 75%, whereas defense might be worth even less than 25%. If a team can't move the football, they can't score, they're so bad in the red zone. They have absolutely no way. If Olave doesn't play, this line should go up. If Olave doesn't play, they have no weapons. They signed another running back this week off the street. I forgot who they signed. Let me see if I can figure that out.
Yeah, I saw some son too, but I mean, Devin Neal is going to play.
Devin Neal is trash. He's not any good at all. Who's the running back they just signed off the street? Evan Hull? Is that who they signed off the street?
No, it was someone else. It was it Audric Estime?
I thought he was already on the roster.
No, he's there. I don't know. I thought I saw they signed someone, but apparently not. I don't know.
Yeah, I just look at their offense. They just can't move the ball. They can't get first downs. They can't score. They're less than 40%. Almost like 1/3, 33% in the red zone. Their third down offense is less than 40%. It's pathetic. And Miami, I think red zone defense might be a statistic that's somewhat overrated, because I think that comes down more to the offense and the defense. But only Denver, the Rams, Philly, and Minnesota have been better than Miami defending in the red zone, for what it's worth. Again, I'm not putting too much stock in that, but I'm watching that game, that Saints-Atlanta game, and I'm thinking, I already know who won, right? I'm rewatching the game, thinking they have, like, what happened here in the red zone? They just can't move. It's first and goal from the 1. What was the sequence of plays? They can't run the football at all. And Shuck has no ability to throw the ball, and they have no threat in the red zone. It's not like Chris Olave is a nice receiver, but he's not Devontae Adams at the goal line. He's not a big body, and he doesn't get off the line of scrimmage well, and he doesn't get himself open, and Shuck can't hit him. They can't score in the red zone. Their points came a lot on Shaheed plays, or Taysom Hill taking like a wildcat, and he's too slow, and he's a little bit older now, and there's just no threat of scoring. No Kamara. If Olave doesn't play, I actually might lean more and be more comfortable taking Miami. And again, Tua is garbage. I can't stand Tua. He's terrible. He's snap, catch, throw immediately. He refuses to hold the ball. So he's not like your Caleb Williams, who holds the ball for too long. But he has tendencies, and he can throw the ball into the line of scrimmage, and fast linebackers dropping into coverage. If he throws 2 or 3 picks, it can change everything. But I definitely don't want to have anything to do with the Saints. If I don't take this game as a survivor pick, I wouldn't bet anything in this game.
Well, one way the Saints are going to score here is Juwan Johnson. The Dolphins can't stop tight ends at all. Juwan Johnson's going to have a big game. Richard says this is the kind of game Miami loses. They play a good few games, and everyone's like, "Oh, they look good," and then they lose. Yeah, McDaniels is just a terrible coach. So I think the Saints have the coaching edge in this game. I like what we've seen so far from Kellen Moore. I think he's gotten the Saints to play better than what they really are, especially with Rattler. Now, a lot of the stats you mentioned before, that was with Rattler and not Shuck. And Shuck is more talented than Rattler. He was a second-round pick compared to a fifth-round Rattler. And he did play well against Carolina. It's 1 of 3 games. He's young, and I think that this might be the easiest defense he's going to see all year. So I think he could have a solid game. Relatively solid. And then, like I said, I think Juwan Johnson could have a monster game, which talk about betting something. I think Juwan Johnson over has looked pretty good here against Miami team that can't stop tight ends at all. Um, so yeah, I have the Saints winning this game outright. But I think, like I said, I think it's a field goal game either way. I can't see Miami winning.
I made the game 21-16 for what it's worth.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
don't think Miami's running away with the game. I just don't think New Orleans could score.
I think they score a little bit on Miami. I mean,
I would love to convince myself just to take the Rams, survive in advance again if the Eagles win, and then just not think about this. And then I'll worry about week 17 and week 17. I'll be sitting at the circle. I'll have a nice credit line there, and I'll be hedging anyway. So if I get to week 17, I'm in business. Just survive in advance and move forwards. If I take a 10.5 point or 10-point favorite, it's hard not to take that when Miami's the other team available. But I think this is more a bet against the Saints. I just think they're so much worse than you're giving them credit for.
I think these. Well, I think Miami is just as bad as the Saints. That's my.
Okay.
I think they're about even. So, yeah. Well, I think both teams are awful.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not trying to tell you Miami's good. Yeah. I think Miami's bad, and I think the Saints are worse.
I just think they're equally horrible. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, we both agree that the Saints are the right side point wise.
Yeah, for an office pool, you got to make a pick. So I'm not laying points with Miami, but
yeah,
I know. But the line coming down gives me a little bit more pause.
Yeah. I was kind of frustrated. The Sixers were gone. Anyway, let's get to the team that beat the Saints last week. The Falcons are at the Jets. Falcons are -2.5. I initially said this is like a Black Friday sale. It's like, hey, you get the fade the Jets at only -2.5. Come get it now, only Black Friday. But then I thought about it and I'm like, well, are we really sure that Kirk Cousins is not dreadful? Like just because he had one good game against the Saints? I don't know. The Falcons obviously had their injuries. Drake London going to be out again. Chris Lindstrom, he's going to play, but he's really battling through his injury. He's not healthy. So the Falcons have the issues on the offensive line still, and the run defense is usually pretty bad. It was good last week, but the Saints lost Kamara in that game. So maybe Breece Hall runs well, but then again, I think Atlanta could play closer to the line of scrimmage and just really not worry about it because Tyrod Taylor is not really going to beat them deep. I was more confident in Atlanta earlier in the week, but yeah, like I said, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, do I want to bet Kirk Cousins as a road favorite? I don't know. Maybe I will. I don't know. I got to do some more soul searching about this one, but what do you think about this game?
I would recommend you just don't do any soul searching and pass because, first of all, I made the line 3.5, and that's, again, because I have the Jets in that really low category behind the Saints, or maybe tied with the Saints, but behind the Saints, if you take away Garrett Wilson, I have them actually tied with the Titans. And the Falcons, I have as one of those bad teams, but I have them -4, and I have the Jets at -9. So I think the Falcons should be favored by at least 3, and the contest line is 2.5. So that first originally said, oh, I feel like I'm getting a bargain, like you said. And then I also thought about, am I really going to take Kirk Cousins now on the road? Right. Last week, he's playing indoors. So he was able to throw the ball 49 yards downfield. Credit to him for being able to make that pass. He's not making that pass outdoors. I don't care who he's playing against. He could be playing 7-on-7, and he's not making the 49-yard pass at MetLife. I mean, it's going to be outdoors. It's going to be windy. It might be rainy. So I have no desire to take Kirk Cousins in that situation. I could see him throwing a bunch of picks over the middle. The Jets' defense last week wasn't bad. Maybe it was the Ravens that didn't look good, but the Jets' defense didn't look so bad last week. They were able to contain Lamar, contain the movement in the pocket. We know Cousins is not moving anywhere in the pocket. I would only worry about Bijan taking screen passes to the house, maybe breaking a screen 50 yards downfield, or maybe breaking a run. On the other side, Breece Hall could do the same. I wouldn't be overly optimistic about either side. So I'd be on the Falcons at anything under 3. If you gave me 3.5, I'd probably take the Jets. If you gave me 3, I'd probably take the Jets, assuming that it'd be a field goal game, or maybe I have a live dog. This is my lowest ranked game. I wouldn't bet this game.
Oh, I thought Tampa was your lowest. Is this?
Yeah, it's between this and Tampa because Tampa, we just don't know the situation, right? If you told me I got a healthy Baker and the line is 4.5, we could have more of a conversation about whether or not the 4.5 is a viable dog. If you told me Baker is playing and he's relatively limited and the line's 2.5, maybe I lean towards Tampa in that scenario as well. If you're giving me 3 and it's Bridgewater, I probably lean towards the Cardinals getting the 3 because I don't think Bridgewater is an NFL quarterback. But there's just too much uncertainty whether Bridgewater plays, whether Baker plays, whether Baker's can do anything. Maybe he doesn't want to run. He doesn't want to take a hit. So maybe he's looking to get rid of the ball instead of doing Baker things, which is moving around in the pocket and making plays downfield. So that's my lowest ranked game, more so because I just don't know what I'm getting out of the quarterback situation. This game is an absolute trash, garbage football game, similar to the Dolphins Saints game. But this game, now we have Cousins outdoors, and they're favored because they won last week because they looked good against New Orleans. So I'm not overly impressed with the win against New Orleans, but I think the Jets and New Orleans are on par. And therefore, I think at least Atlanta should be 3.5. So the line's 2.5. So that means I can't be on the Jets, but I have no desire to bet on Kirk Cousins outside off of a win. Just not the right play.
Okay. All right. We will move on to the final 1:00 game, which is 49ers at the Browns. The 49ers are -4.5 in most places, 5 at FanDuel. So this is another team that does not have enough, as much time to prepare as the other team. But the difference is that the 49ers are actually a good team compared to the Panthers, who are a bad team. So that's not going to affect them as much. Also, they're traveling to the East Coast. And like I said, Kyle Shanahan has done well in these games. However, he's not going to have the same sort of advantage that he had Monday night. The Panthers missing their 2 linebackers to start the game. He could really game plan to attack the middle of the field with Kittle and McCaffrey. And then once the Panthers lost the top corner, J.C. Horn, he's able to attack the outside. So Shanahan's just great when he can just focus on the deficiencies of the defense that he's going against. But the problem is that the Browns don't have any deficiencies. So kind of wonder what Shanahan's going to do here. The Browns have such a strong defense that they should be able to keep this close. And Brock Purdy, if I'm betting on the Niners, which I'm not, the Brock Purdy would really concern me. He threw 3 interceptions last week, did not look right. He didn't throw any picks in the second half, but it was mostly safe stuff. So, I don't know. This defense could rattle him a little bit. Although, with Trent Williams to block Garrett, that's at least someone who could stop Garrett. Unlike last week at the Raiders. So Purdy won't see as much pressure as Geno, but still, I still wonder if he's going to be turnover free. Which if I had to bet, it would be no. Shador Sanders played better last week than he did against Baltimore in relief. At least he didn't drift in the pocket 20 yards down like the other way. But he wasn't great either. So I'm not excited to back him, but I am going to be on the Browns. Not sure if I'm going to bet this game. I might be a small bet. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, you could lock it in. This is my number 1 pick on the board. Okay. First of all, let's start with power ratings. I think the Niners are slightly overrated because they've beaten some bad teams. I was not impressed with the win against Carolina. The defense played hard, but they played against Bryce Young, so they held Bryce Young to 9 points. Good for them. Credit to them for playing hard. They're still not a good defense. They don't get any pressure on the quarterback. 2 weeks ago, they got 0 sacks on Brissett, who threw the ball 57 times with 0 sacks. That's unbelievable. But their defense is playing hard, right? So you give them credit. Saleh's doing a great job with what he has. So that's first of all. So I don't really look at the Cleveland offense as say okay, well, they're going to put up 27 or 24 or 20. They're probably not. There's a reason this game is lined at an over-under of 35 points. So anytime you see a line that's under 37, I look towards the underdog because points are going to be at a premium. So that's first of all with respect to Cleveland offense against Niner defense. The Niner offense, I like Brock Purdy. Okay, don't get me wrong. We talked before about Trevor Lawrence. He's got a great arm talent. He can throw the ball. He's got a rocket. He can throw the ball downfield. He throws the ball with good velocity. Brock Purdy is the opposite. He knows how to play quarterback. He's very good in the pocket. He has very good awareness, pocket awareness. He's able to move around. He can pick his spots and run when he needs to. And that's something that he's done throughout the course of his career. He did it a lot in the playoff run that they had where he's using his legs in big spots to get first downs. He maneuvers himself well within the pocket, which I think is very impressive. But he has no arm strength. So when he sees downfield, he throws with anticipation, but he throws a ton of picks over the middle of the field because he kind of just lobs the ball in there. And those are not bad throws. They're good throws. He just doesn't have the arm strength or the RPMs on the ball to get the ball where it needs to go before the defenders get over. That pick that J.C. Horn had, now, that was a great play, and I watched some people who break down film show exactly what J.C. Horn did, and he recognized the formation, and he was able to really kind of bait Purdy into thinking that spot would be open when it wasn't. But Aaron Rodgers makes that throw. Mahomes, Allen, anybody who's got zip on the ball makes that throw. That throw gets through. Purdy's ball does not. Look at the weather in Cleveland. You're talking about 30, 40 degree temperatures, possibly rain. If it's not rainy, it's going to be windy. I'm looking at wind gusts that could be in the 20 to 30 miles per hour. So now if you talk about Purdy throwing the ball with bad weather, who doesn't necessarily have the RPMs to get the ball downfield in general, now throwing with wind, I don't see how the Niners move the ball downfield other than screen passes to McCaffrey, rollouts, bootlegs to Kittle. They'll be able to do that. Those are longer drives. We know Shanahan likes to settle for field goals. So this is a situation where I think you're getting a really low-scoring game. I think first to 20 wins. I think this game could be easily 13-10 or 16-13, something like that. Now, forget Shador. Shador was fine. He was okay last week. He wasn't J.J. McCarthy bad. He was fine. He threw a screen pass, and it went for 60 yards or whatever he did. He was able to avoid pressure. He threw the ball downfield. Niners don't pressure you anyway. It doesn't matter who you are. So if they hand the ball off to Judkins a bunch of times and put up 13 points, they should be able to cover. And the Niners will be very happy sitting on the ball late and not looking for margin. So I'm looking at 5.5 points. I made the line 3.5. I'm concerned about the Niners winning the game outright. I think this is a very, very tough game. I know Shanahan's been very good traveling cross country in the early window slots, but that was with a better defense that traveled. This is not a defense that's going to travel, and this is an offense that's not clicking right now. So they put up 20 points at home against Carolina. Yes, obviously the turnovers hurt at that time. They certainly could do a better job blocking Myles Garrett. But Myles Garrett, we've already said, he's clinched Defensive Player of the Year. The guy is amazing, and he's benefiting from a really strong interior pass rush. They have really nice players on the inside as well that helps him on the outside. So he's benefiting now from his teammates. I think this line should be 3.5 at most. I love the Browns. I think they're a live dog to win the game, and I don't see how this is not on our card.
Okay, yeah, we'll put it on. Yeah, I'm considering betting the Browns too. So
no, you should. This line is too high.
I agree, it's too high. I know you made it 3, I made it 4, so it's still too high for me, especially the contest line, which is 5.5.
Team total unders are a great play in this game because if the Niners win by margin, they might win 19-6 or 16-6. But I don't see how this line gets over. I mean, that's why the line has dropped. Well, I think the opener was 37, maybe. I'm just looking at now the Superbook, which is now down to 35.5. This total, by the way, opened at 40.
Wow.
A week ago, or 10, the advanced line was 40.5. Last week, this line was 41.5. By November 25th, this line was 38. And this line has plummeted now to 35.5.
That's crazy. Yeah. Maybe because of the weather, which
maybe because of the weather.
It's gonna be 80 and sunny. Watch. All weathermen lie. I'm convinced. John says, John Sanders in the chat. A man has got to know his limitations that may apply to Brock Purdy's evolution here. John, I was referencing you earlier. How on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about the Bengals and Joe Burrow coming into Buffalo next week? Let me know. All right, so let's get to the 4 o'clock games. There are 3 of them.
John makes a good point about Purdy. Sometimes when you have a guy like Purdy, they may not know their limitations because a lot of these guys are what they are because they have so much confidence in their abilities. Brock Purdy is not going onto the field thinking, you know what, I can't make that throw. Yeah. He's thinking exactly the opposite. He's thinking, I can make that throw. I see it. It's there. And he, it's like you or I, we're trying to throw a ball 80, 70 yards. We're going to look like Baker Mayfield. We're going to throw our arms out of our socket. We might think we can do it, but we can't do it. We can't. We don't have that kind of arm strength. Purdy doesn't have the arm strength to make these kinds of throws. Josh Allen has the arm strength. Lawrence has the arm strength. Heck, maybe J.J. McCarthy even has the arm strength. Brock knows how to play quarterback. He can't make the throws that he sees in his mind. And that's very, very concerning. And by the way, this is not I'm rusty or, I'm injured. He was making the same mistakes earlier this season, last season, in playoff games in the past. This hasn't been the case his entire career. He does not have the arm strength to do what he needs to do.
Yeah, he's like the kid who jumps off the jungle gym because he thinks he can fly.
Right.
So yeah, John saying 10 out of 10 concerned. I that's what I guess, John. Just because Burrow's back and suddenly now Buffalo of course has to play him. It's kind of like they were destined. Yeah, I think you called it a few weeks ago. Stanley asking, hey Walter, do you think the refs screwed the Chiefs in their loss against the Cowboys? I think they got some calls wrong in that game. I don't think they necessarily would have won had the officials gotten those calls right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the refs decided the game, even though they screwed up a couple of times. So, what do you think about that? Do you agree?
I don't think the refs screwed the Chiefs in that game. I mean, there were some bad calls, but I think
Yeah,
there were worse situations in the Lions Packers game because it directly led to points on that full start timeout fiasco. I think the Chiefs screwed themselves by not being able to defend.
yeah, agreed. As John's saying, there was more alarm with the Bengals defense being average. Yeah, that might have something to do with Baltimore's offense just not doing anything. Baltimore scored what 16 points against the Jets, or no? How many?
23.
That's 23-10, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
23-10. Yeah. Yeah, they scored only 23 against the Jets. So it's not like they've been doing well anyway. So all right. The first 4 o'clock game, Vikings at the Seahawks. This line is 11.5. You said the Browns were your top play of the week. This is my top play of the week. This is matchup and spot for Seattle. Like the matchup is, I think, it's super obvious. First of all, you have Max Brosmer playing for the Vikings, who is a quarterback who is a smart guy. He's accurate in the short passes, and his footwork's sound, but he has no arm strength and he has no mobility. This guy's not a real NFL quarterback. Maybe he's going to be a semi-decent number 2 down the road, but that's his absolute ceiling. And on top of that, he may not have 3 offensive linemen. Ryan Kelly's still on IR. The Christian Darrisaw has not practiced yet this week. Donovan Jackson has not practiced this week. So you're going to have a undrafted rookie quarterback playing without potentially 3 offensive linemen against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Good luck. Good luck, Max Brosmer. And then on the other side of the ball, you have Sam Darnold, who, he can struggle against some of the top defenses. But first of all, Minnesota's defense has not been great this year. They're ranked in the 20s. And second, Minnesota blitzes at the highest rate in the NFL. Sam Darnold's actually really good against blitz. He's not good when he's pressured with just like 4 guys, but when he's blitzed, he actually posts some really good numbers. I could pull those up in a second here. Sam Darnold went blitzed this year, completing 65% of his passes for a 10.3 YPA. So pretty impressive. His YPA when blitz is actually higher than when not blitz. So this guy's really good when blitz. So you have the matchup. Like I said, matchup's obvious for Seattle, and then the spot. I think it's also obvious it's revenge for Sam Darnold. Like Minnesota discarded him. They went with McCarthy instead. I know teams like to play for, their leaders, their quarterbacks, their coach. Like when the Patriots are going against the Titans, the players wanted to get revenge for Vrabel. I think this is the same thing. Like I think the players will want to get revenge for Sam Darnold. So just Minnesota's completely outclassed here. And you have an angry Seattle team that wants to beat up on them. I don't see how this game's close. And frankly, this game should be higher. This line should be higher than 14. So I love Seattle. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't have to add anything. You pretty much took everything out of my mouth. So I fully agree with everything you said. I was looking up some of Max Brosmer's college stats. I noticed he didn't run much. And that's a problem when you have a team that is going to pressure him and he's going to have to maneuver or move in the pocket. And he took 26 sacks in 13 games in college against a much lesser, obviously, competition than some of the other quarterbacks who play in the SEC. Yeah, I get it. Some Big Ten games that are good, but he doesn't strike me as a quarterback who looks like he's ready to come in and take the league by storm. I fully agree with the Darnold revenge factor. Now, some people said, "Oh, he doesn't really know the Flores defense because it's not like he practices against it. Like he's watching film, he has to know something. He's picking up on something in the Brian Flores defense." And I'm sure Brian Flores, like any defensive coordinator, knows Darnold's limitations. But Darnold's been great this year. JSN's been unbelievable. Last week, they obviously gave up the punt return. They gave up a late score. But in general, they had 7.5 yards per play. They continue to dominate. They've had a bunch of games this season. A couple weeks ago, the Arizona game, they were up by margin early. I think that game was like 35-3 midway through the second quarter. They had a couple of other games earlier this season at home. I think the Saints game they won by 3 or 4 touchdowns. So this is certainly a team that I think could keep their foot on the gas, look to run up the score. Now that J.J. McCarthy has another injury, if that's what they call it, they call it concussion an injury. That guy is he's done. I think O'Connell realized that they got to get him out before he gets ruined for good, and he's got to take a seat. He's certainly not ready to play. He doesn't have he's just not ready. I don't know if he has a talent to play. I never saw him as an NFL prospect when I watched him play Michigan football, and Harbaugh had him throwing 10, 12 times a game. The guy never threw the ball. They handed the ball off 35 times a game. So yeah. I never thought that he was a viable option. I was surprised and just kind of gave O'Connell the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I looked at this line and I thought this line would be closer to 13. I think this line is trending in that direction. Someone says 13 on Pinnacle now. So we have this line at 12.5. It's under 13. I think at most this game is like 34-16. We did see Seattle. We did see Minnesota somehow beat Detroit. The other thing that I was thinking about Minnesota, they get a lot of procedural penalties, a lot of false starts. It was a game a few weeks ago where they had 8 or 9 false starts in a game. And now they're playing in Seattle where it's going to be loud and the crowd causes those false starts. So I can absolutely see procedural penalties that set them even worse. I like Seattle. Again, you have to handicap, do we care to win by margin? I mentioned with the Rams, they generally don't. They have not kept their foot on the gas. Seattle has been the opposite. Seattle has, for the most part, kept their foot on the gas. They gave up the backdoor last week, and of course, they gave up the punt return. Outside of a punt return for a touchdown, I think they'll win this game by margin as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. We'll put on the card. We now have 4 definites on the card. So we only need one more. And we have.
What was the 4th? Was the Rams a definite?
Oh, yeah. I put the Rams as a definite. Yeah.
Okay.
Houston, Rams, Browns, Seahawks.
Okay.
Stanley asking, do you think the reason why McCarthy's struggling is because Kevin O'Connell's running the offense like he got Kirk Cousins or Sam Darnold instead of running the scheme to fit him? No, I think he's struggling because he sucks. I had him, like I've said this a million times, like I had him as a 3rd round prospect, like potential, like backup, like high end backup guy. Like maybe spot starter. Like that's what I thought he'd be. And then I thought like, okay, maybe he'll get bumped up to the 2nd round because quarterbacks always get bumped up. And then I saw like the Vikings were considering him at like 10 or 11, whatever they were drafting. And I'm like, that can't be right. Like, and then you heard rumors like the Giants are going to take him at 4 or something. I'm like, what is happening here? Is it's going to be a guy who falls, kind of like, remember, Will Levis was projected to go top 3 or top 4, and then he fell to the 2nd round. I thought the same thing might happen, and then he goes 10. The Vikings actually traded up for him one spot. And I'm like, I don't understand this at all. Like you said it perfectly. They never had him throw in Michigan. Like what are you doing taking him number 10 unless you are going to have him hand the ball off 30 times again? Like right. Maybe he's just great at handing the ball off. I don't know. So that's so dumb. So no, Stanley, no, it's McCarthy's just a bum, and I think that this could be maybe by sitting him, but with this like strange concussion that came out of nowhere. Maybe they're just sitting him and hoping that some team takes him off their hands, like kind of like Josh Rosen, and then they could take a quarterback in the 1st round. But we'll see. It sounds like a bunch of quarterbacks might go back to school now, so I don't know if they're going to be able to get anyone. I assume they're going to try to trade for someone, but we'll see.
Yeah, I imagine they'll trade for somebody and let him just go into a competition.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Next game is Bills at the Steelers. This line is Bills -3.5. You mentioned this much earlier in the show. The Bills have some offensive line injuries. We have Deion Dawkins has not practiced yet with concussion. Spencer Brown has not practiced yet with a shoulder. That's their 2 tackles. So that's a huge problem against TJ Watt. Also defensively, Terrell Bernard has not practiced yet with an elbow. And of course, Matt Milano has been really banged up, although they've had a mini bye. So maybe he'll be better this week. But if not, they're going to have major issues at linebacker and tackle. And like I said, against a Steelers team that can get after the quarterback. Earlier in the week, I was on the Bills. just because I thought that, Rodgers may not be healthy and Rodgers is not good anyway. But now seeing these injuries, I'm inclined to take the Steelers. And of course, we have the Steelers as an underdog coming off a loss. And we know how good that situation is for Tomlin. He somehow finds ways to win these games or at least cover these games. He's phenomenal in these spots. So, I like the Steelers here now. What do you think about this game?
No, I don't. I don't at all. I love the Bills in this spot. I think the line is insane. Yeah, I mean, I factored in all these injuries. I deduct 2 full points for each tackle, 1 point for each tackle. And Kincaid, I think, is worth a half a point as well. So I think Kincaid has been a really good third down weapon for Josh Allen. So I have the Bills at a +3.5. I have the Steelers as a -2.5. I don't care if it's Rodgers or Mason Rudolph. I don't think either one of them. Their offense is dreadful. They don't move the ball well at all. They're also missing a left tackle, right? I believe Jones is out. Is he out? Has he practiced at all?
No, he hasn't. He's not good. It's kind of like a replacement player. No, like the tackles the Bills are missing are actually like really good players.
No, I get that, and obviously last week with them giving up 8 sacks, their Bills now coming off a loss. I think this is a game where Josh Allen takes over, coming off of a loss, kind of in need of a win to get back on track. The division is slipping away. The time is running out. So I made this line 4.5. With the injuries to Buffalo, I was at 4.5. When this line is dropped to 3, I'm looking at this like the Bills are going to lose to Pittsburgh. The Bills are still going to put up points. Josh Allen's going to make plays. Pittsburgh's defense is not any good. They've given up a lot of points to some bad teams throughout the season, and their offense isn't any good either. So what is the Bills' weakness? The Bills' weakness is to the run. The Steelers can't run the football. Who's running the football on the Steelers? Right. So I look at that overall. Pittsburgh is one of the. Where's my numbers for Pittsburgh rushing? Pittsburgh's in the bottom 10 in the league. I have them at 4 yards per carry. So I get it. That's the big weakness that Buffalo brings to the table. But how is this line 3? This line's got to be at least 3.5. So I make it 4.5. If you tell me it's 3.5 and we're laying a hook, do I love it on the road? Not really. But at 3, at 3, I think this is an easy pick on Buffalo. Now I need Buffalo to win the game, and I don't see Buffalo losing this game.
I actually have the Steelers as the 4th best running team in the NFL, according to EPA.
Not by yards per play, not by a long shot.
I do like Jalen Warren. I like Gainwell as a backup. He's had some nice gains. I think they can run a Buffalo. I have no issues with that. I
have them at 23rd at 4 yards per carry.
Yeah, EPA wise, since October 1st, they are 4th in the NFL in rushing.
But now we're picking and choosing spots, right? So we say, Chicago is a terrible defense. Cincinnati, they played as a terrible defense.
Mm-hmm.
They played
I'm not. I just discarded the first 4 weeks of the season in general, completely off the board. It's all gone. It's just way too much in the past.
So 3 of the last 6 games for Pittsburgh has been against Cincinnati and Chicago, 2 of the worst defenses in the league.
Sure.
So you're getting some statistics, and I'm going from the Cincinnati game because we're taking away the Cleveland game the week before that. So for me, it's not about. I don't think Pittsburgh's offense is good enough to take advantage of the Buffalo weaknesses. I love the fact that Buffalo's coming off of a loss. Where their offensive line, where Allen, unlike Stroud, who doesn't understand protections, Allen could mitigate the rush just by using his legs more. And I think in this case, he'll be able to use his legs. He'll be able to evade pressure and get the ball downfield. And I'm looking at this game thinking, the Bills are not losing this game. I don't see the Bills losing this game. I look at this similar to like the Packer game where I was duped into taking Pittsburgh plus 3.5, and then they got roasted in the second half of that game. To me, Buffalo is the better team, even without the tackles, which is a problem. And it's a bigger problem. Yes, TJ Watt is there, and that could be an issue. But I just watched the Bears move the ball up the field, 31 points on them. I've seen the Jets this season put up 30-plus points on Pittsburgh. Cincinnati put up 34 points against Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago. Sorry, they won 34. Cincinnati put up 33 a couple of weeks before that, and that was in Cincinnati. I'm not impressed with – and the Chargers, who have no offensive line, put up 25 and blew them out. So I'm not impressed with Pittsburgh. I have them as easily a below-average football team. I have Pittsburgh number 20, and I have them minus 2.5, minus another point for the offensive line deficiencies. So I don't even look at them as an average football team. If Rodgers plays, I don't know how healthy Rodgers is. Does that mean I know it's not the throwing hand, but does that mean he's just going to get the ball out quicker? I don't worry about that offense. I don't worry about Pittsburgh moving the ball. I see a 3 here. I'm thinking like this doesn't make sense. Now, if I had the Thursday games, this would not be a top 5 pick. Neither would Seattle. My top 5 was Cincinnati, Detroit, and Chicago. So I would not have had Buffalo as a pick or Seattle as a pick if we submitted our card early. I would have probably had Cleveland and maybe Houston. But outside of that, I would have been on the 3 games today and tomorrow. But if you take away the games today and tomorrow, I don't see how Buffalo. I mean, you're on the Steelers here, so I get it. But at -3, to me, this is a bargain.
You referenced the Packers and the Chargers games where the Steelers did not do well. I think there's the difference in those games is that those two teams have top 10 defenses, and the Bills are 23rd in defense. Like they can't stop the run at all. And like I said, according to the EPA, the Steelers can run the ball apparently. And you mentioned they played soft opponents, but the Bills are a soft run defense opponent too. So like what's really the difference there? And also Rodgers was full today. Metcalf was full today, which is a surprise. I thought that's another reason why I switched to the Steelers, because
where do you have the Steelers in your power rankings?
They're Group C.
What? Give me like a number. Who's like ahead of them? Who's behind them? Who's like right around there? If you look at like their overall, do you have your power rating somewhere there?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up right here. Where is it? There we go. Steelers are 20th.
20. Where at Buffalo?
Buffalo's probably Group A, number 3.
Yeah, I mean that speaks for itself.
But that's Buffalo with tackles and healthy linebackers, and these injuries are just far too much. And the Steelers I downgraded because I thought Metcalf was gonna be out. Where I had the Steelers low, I higher, I think last week. Yeah, 19. I did have the Steelers 15 like a couple weeks ago. So I think like if you downgrade the Bills with no tackles, like I downgraded the Chargers substantially with no tackles. I would feel the same way about the Bills.
Do you like this more if it's Rodgers or Rudolph? Do you care?
If Rodgers is full, I don't really think there's a difference. Now, if Rodgers is limited Friday and they try to play him, then I'm concerned. I'd rather have a healthy quarterback than an injured one, even if it's Rodgers. Rodgers has not done well anyway this year. So
I would be very surprised. First of all, if this line doesn't go to 3.5, it's trending towards 3.5. It's 3.5 in a lot of places offshore. Mm-hmm. It's 3 -15 or -16 in some of the books in Vegas that we use. It's 3.5 at Caesars. It's 3.5 at BetMGM. Mm-hmm. It's 3.5 on ESPN Bet. 3.5 on Fanatics for what it's worth. I don't ever look at Fanatics. FanDuel has 3.5. DraftKings has 3.5. I am very surprised that this line from a contest perspective is 3. Yeah. To me, this is an easy pick. I would be very surprised if Buffalo lost this game. Coming off of a loss, I would be very surprised if Buffalo lost this game.
Well, we've seen them lose 2 in a row. Last year, they got blown out by the Ravens, and they lost.
They lost 2 in a row this year.
Yeah. Their losses coming too, apparently, and then they win.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. They lost to the Patriots in a huge loss. They turned around and didn't show up in a night game against the Falcons.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can pass on this one. John Sanders, 411 super chat. Thank you so much, John. He's asking Chiefs, Bills, Ravens miss playoffs. Who wins AFC? Okay. Well, I then all my exactas are burned are like in the toilet. So, who wins the AFC? Is the Patriots?
Well, the Bills are not going to miss the playoffs.
I don't think so either. Hypothetically, if they do. Yeah, the Patriots with no left tackle moving forward. We'll get to that soon. I guess
the Patriots have no left tackle. The Chargers have no left or right tackle.
Right.
Kansas City, you're knocking out because now also, by the way, Simmons is out. He took an injury tonight or today. Mm-hmm. Jacksonville is awful. The Colts have a quarterback with a broken fibula. Pittsburgh has Mason Rudolph playing. The Ravens just lost at home to the Bengals, who are probably not going to make it because they're too far behind. I guess that leaves Denver, which is absurd, but I guess that leaves Denver.
Well,
or Houston.
Hear me out. If the Ravens miss the playoffs, that means the Bengals might get in. And if the Bengals get in, and if Burrow's healthy and the defense plays like it did tonight, Could be the Bengals. Could be the Bengals.
Could be Houston.
Could be Houston too. Yep.
What a disaster. By the way, I've told you this before as a football fan. I want to see the top teams. I understand what's happened thus far. We're midway through the season right now. A lot's gone down. The Burrow injury, the Lamar plus half the Ravens defense injuries. That really sucks as a fan that the Ravens potentially could be out along with the Chiefs and the Texans, the teams that are in the better positions. And instead, we're going to get the Bo Nixes and the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Patriots, who are good, but probably a year away from being. I mean, I've been on the Patriots since day one, pretty much. But I don't want to see Patriots and Broncos in the AFC Championship game. That's a disaster.
I don't know. I like seeing bad teams getting because we get to fade them. But you're right. If it's two bad teams,
fading teams every week.
Yeah. If it's two bad teams getting in and reaching the championship game, then I agree, and then we have an issue. But I always like those like one or two games in the wild card round where you can fade them easily. You know, like Buffalo versus Denver last year, or like usually when you have the NFC South team like the Buccaneers. You know, they lost to the Redskins last year. You have a couple.
Someone has to get in at the bottom. So right now, Buffalo's in the 7th spot with Houston and Kansas City and Baltimore behind them. Mm-hmm. So you're talking, unless Miami, which you're not, I know you don't think Miami is going to jump those teams. Cincinnati would have to win the division because they finished 9-8. At some point, those other teams play each other. Like Houston and Kansas City play each other next week. Mm-hmm. Buffalo and Cincinnati play each other next week. So at some point, it's going to be, one of those teams that get in, whether it's, you might have New England, Denver, Colts, Pittsburgh, Chargers, Jacksonville. That's your 6. And then one of Buffalo, Houston, Kansas City, Baltimore as your 7th spot. So talk about fading a bad team. You have 6 bad teams. The Colts are not a great team. The Colts are flawed. Denver, we know, is flawed. New England now doesn't have a left tackle. There's going to be a lot of mediocre football being played in January. That really, really stinks for us as fans.
Right. Well, that'll make the Super Bowl about easy then, I guess. Wait till February.
And then in the NFC, you might have Carolina and Chicago in the playoffs. With the Niners and the Lions out.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely. I don't think Carolina's getting in, but
neither do I. But Carolina or Tampa, one of them is getting in, but neither of them are really that good.
Or Atlanta. Look, I mean, Tampa loses.
Oh my goodness.
Tampa loses if Tampa loses Arizona this week, which is very possible with Bridgewater, mm-hmm. and if Atlanta's favor of the Jets, if Atlanta wins, they're one game back of Tampa, and they play against Tampa again.
Are you dismissing Carolina beating the Rams?
Yes.
I know. I'm just
give him a 10-point head start. I dismissed it. All right. We have 3 games left. Raiders at Chargers. Chargers are -9.5 here. Andy and I spent a long time on this game yesterday. He liked the Chargers. I sided with the Raiders, but I wasn't really going to bet this game, so I don't really feel strongly about it. I just think that the Chargers can't block at all. I know the Raiders can't block either, but they're favored by 9.5, and they win 10-0, but like, can they even score 10 points here? I'm not really sure about that because they scored 6 points against Jacksonville before their bye. The one thing that would worry me if I took the Raiders outside of the obvious, which is their dreadful offense, is that Jim Harbaugh is coming off a bye, and Jim Harbaugh is one of the better coaches in the NFL. So there's a chance that with the week off, he was able to formulate something, fix something with the offensive line. Maybe it's not going to be great, but maybe it's going to be average or slightly below average. And if that's the case, then they should be able to beat the Raiders by margin because the Raiders are awful. Now, on the positive side for the Raiders, this should be a home game. They used to play in LA for years. The LA Raiders were a thing. So this is like their true home game. Like the fans are there. Like there are more fans of the Raiders in LA than the Chargers. No question. So yeah, so this could be a silent count game for the Chargers, which, not always a good thing for the home team. Obviously, against the Steelers, it wasn't a big deal, but sooner or later, I think it could trip them up. So I'm on the Raiders here, not super confident. I wish the Chargers didn't have their bye. I'd feel stronger about the Raiders then in that case. But what do you think about this game?
I'm with you. I would be on the Raiders side here for a couple of reasons. First of all, we've seen the Chargers already not win by margin They've gotten blown out a couple times. I don't know what happened in that Jaguars game. I mean, I know what happened. Their offensive line didn't block, and that's a big problem. You look at the Raiders in general. That loss last week really takes the cake. I mean, to get sacked 10 times in a game. I mean, Josh Allen got sacked 8 times last week, but at least that was against Houston. Although I guess, okay, you could say Cleveland. The blocking on that offensive line is just beyond bad. I mean, shocking that Carroll didn't fire his son, who's the offensive line coach. He fires Chip Kelly, but they don't fire the offensive line coach, who's really the bigger problem. So I don't know how you fix their offensive line. There's just no talent there. But it's still a divisional game. And I have no desire to lay 9.5 points in what you said is going to be basically a road game at home in a divisional game against a team that's going to fight. Gino, he threw 3 picks the first time they played this matchup in week 2. He was only sacked 3 times in that game, but I think they had Colton Miller playing at the left tackle in that game. I'm not sure about that, but
they did. Yes.
At least there was some viable offensive line threat. The Raiders have been pretty good against the run. They haven't been very good against the pass, and we know Harbaugh likes to run the ball. I still don't believe that even if he can come up with something, I think the something is running the football and having success running the football or throwing screens. And I think is Hampton back, or they just opened up his window to come back?
They haven't taken him off IR yet, but he could be off by Saturday.
For me, the back door is open. So the Raiders have played a bunch of strange close games. Maybe that game against Denver was close because weird things happen on Thursdays. So they've been in these close games. They had a close game. Obviously, I mentioned the Jacksonville game earlier where they had an overtime game. They lost by 1. They had a game. The Bears game was the Bears won because they had a blocked field goal. So I'm not looking to rush to bet against the Raiders just because they don't have an offensive line and they don't have really a team, especially with a team that can't block. So I would side with the Raiders getting points. I fully expect the Chargers to win. But I would be on the Raiders side, but I don't think I would put this as a contest pick.
Not even as a maybe.
I mean, it's a maybe. I don't like this game any more or less than I like the Rams. So you say you like the Rams much better than this. I would say, cool, let's take the Rams.
Okay.
Obviously, I tend to lean more towards dogs, although this year dogs haven't worked. I'm okay with either of those. If you said, hey, we got to take the Raiders, it's just too many points, I would say, okay. You would say, we got to take the Rams because Carolina's not going to move the ball and score. I say, yeah, that's true. So I'm okay with either one. For me, I'm not betting this game. I'm betting the Chargers to win, and if I win the Eagles and win the Rams or Dolphins pick, at 1 o'clock, I will be heavily rooting against the Chargers in this game because I am confident that of the 600 people that have the Chargers, and again, I don't know how many of those people lost today, but I would imagine anybody who has the Chargers available in Survivor is using the Chargers this week. There is no other time to take the Chargers down the road. So if you have the Chargers available, I would say 95% chance that person's playing the Chargers now. And I'm hoping that the Raiders can somehow find a way to pull an upset. So I think the back door is open. The fact that neither team has an offensive line might keep the game a little bit closer than it should be. And I've seen weird things with the Raiders playing close games, and I've seen weird things with the Chargers losing by weird margins, like that Jaguars game a few weeks ago. So I'd side with the Raiders, but if you liked it, great. I don't mind it, but not a pick that I would make.
Yeah. Okay. We could put this on maybe. Happy Thanksgiving. Did you get some turkey tonight? I said earlier I had so much food that when I took the leftovers out of into the fridge, I almost like vomited all over the place. I had a lot of turkey. The problem was like I wanted dessert and I'm watching the games. And then my wife comes in with the plate. She gives me like 3 pieces of cake, a cupcake, and 2 cookies. And I'm like, I'm basically like a fish who will continue to eat. Like even until he like vomits and like dies. That's basically me. If there's food on the plate, I will finish it no matter what. And that's what I did. And I was just so stuffed. And then like I was at my parents' house. My mom was like, "Hey, can you move this like heavy plant?" Because she wanted to put a cover beneath it. And like I was like I was moving this plant and like I was like almost puked all over the plant. It was not a pretty sight. So yes, I had turkey. Stanley asking, "Hey Walter, Evan, do you think after the Giants fired Bowen, now promoted Bolin, as the new DC that he'll get the team to play better defense. I think probably. I think so. I think they have more talent than how they performed. You know, if you look at the players they have on their edge rush or the whole front, like it's really good. They shouldn't be as bad as they've been. So I think scheme wise, he could improve things. It can't get worse, right? So
well, it can't get worse. They're the worst run defense currently in the league. They give up almost 6 yards per carry. So it has to get. There's only one way to go from giving up 5.9 yards per carry and being the worst in the league today. I think their team will play hard. I think they've continued to play hard. The Giants are exactly what we thought they would be before the season started. We thought Russell Wilson didn't belong. He would get benched early. They would fight, they would compete, and they would lose. And that's exactly what's happened. They've been competitive, and they've found creative ways to lose games. I see no reason why they wouldn't compete and continue to try, especially for interim coaches. Guys are playing for money. Guys are playing for their careers, for their position on the team. Obviously not playing for a playoffs, being the first and only team eliminated before Thanksgiving. So I imagine that whoever is there will get them to play hard or harder.
Yeah, usually when you have a coach firing, the players will play harder, at least in the intermediate, because they don't want the fingers pointed at them. And that applies in this game too, with Chip Kelly fired. Greg Olson taking over. Greg Olson, by the way, great track record as a coordinator. He got Josh Freeman to a Pro Bowl, and that one year that Blake Bortles was throwing for like 4,500 yards, that was Greg Olson coaching him up. So he's had great success in the past, and I don't know, maybe he'll have Geno not take 10 sacks. All right, let's get to the Sunday night game, which is Broncos at Redskins. This line is Broncos minus 5.5. It was 6. So someone's betting this down. I'm not on Denver either. I think it's a tough game just because matchup wise really benefits Denver. Obviously, both sides of the ball. You have their elite defense against Mariota. Anytime you have a backup quarterback against the top 10 defense, you have to at least consider them because these backups are usually like 30 to 35% cover rate. But then you look at the other side of the ball, you have RJ Harvey against the Redskin linebackers, who are the slowest linebackers in the NFL. Harvey's such an explosive player. I feel like he could have a few carries in this game where he just goes the distance, and then maybe Denver scores like 30 points and covers easily. But then again, the spot is not good for Denver because you have Denver coming off, we talked about before, the bye and the win, and not just any win. They beat the Chiefs. So they've had 2 weeks to hear about how great they are because they beat the Chiefs. Now they're coming off a game, coming into a game where they're playing a non-conference opponent. And we've seen them struggle in these like gimme wins, like, and granted, some of them involve travel, but against the Raiders, they only won 10-7. Against the Jets, they only won 13-11. Against the Giants, they needed to come back from down 19-0. There have been far too many of these games. You know, it's like one is an accident, 2 is a trend, like 3 is a bona fide problem. And I think that it's just a hard ask to get Denver to cover this, even though I think that, you know, if I had to choose a side, I think it would be Denver, but I can't get myself to bet this game or put it on the card. What do you think?
I am on Denver, and I'm borderline to use this game because, like I said, I don't have a lot of games for me from the Super Contest perspective, given that 4 games that I liked are now off the card, off the table. I think Washington's the worst defense in the league right now.
Yeah.
And they're worse than the Bears. They're worse than the Giants. They're worse than Miami. They're worse than Cincinnati. This team, once Jaden got hurt and went out, is pretty much quit defensively. They've lost 6 games in a row. They've gotten blown out in a couple of those games. They got blown out, obviously, on the road to Dallas and Kansas City. Coming off a loss, they got blown out against Detroit at home a couple weeks ago. They got blown out against Seattle at home. So they've really, like 4 of the last 5 losses, they've gotten roasted by 3 touchdowns. So I see no reason, and maybe they give you some fight, but they just don't have a lot of talent. Now, Denver, we know I don't like Bo Nix. I don't really want to lay points with Denver. We did in a contest pick when they were home against Cincinnati a couple of weeks back. I think in this game, it's more you're betting. I made the line 7, so I think the 5.5 is a little cheap, and that's the only reason why I'm really considering this for a card. I think McLaurin's back. I think I saw Surtain has practiced, so I think those kind of nullify one another. Mm-hmm. I don't see the Redskins scoring. I don't see the Redskins moving the ball downfield. And I can see Denver putting up 24 or 26 points. Are they going to get to 30? Are they a 30 type of team? I don't think so, even against a bad defense. But I could see Denver holding Washington to like 17, 16 or fewer, which means I only have to get to 24 to cover. So you tell them 24-17, 26-17, 27-20, something in that ballpark to win by 6 or more, I think is a fair ask. I don't see Washington winning this game despite being at home. Um, I don't like Denver, but we're going to pick and choose your spots. And I've been pretty good with my spots with Denver this year. So I'm on Denver this week. And for me, borderline as a potential contest pick. And really, it's borderline because I don't like my options. I mean,
No.
if you said, hey, I like the Rams better, then great. Let's go with the Rams. If you like Seattle, I agree with you on Seattle. I think Seattle is a no brainer over Denver. If you said, hey, I like the Raiders, to me, is similar to Tennessee. You're kind of playing with fire when you're betting those teams. I mean, yes, sharp money, professional money will be on those teams, so we shouldn't avoid them because they're bad teams. But you kind of feel silly. It's like, okay, you're taking the Raiders and they can't block. And if they can't block, they can't score, and Gino turns the ball over, and the game is 27-10. Whereas you take Denver, and I'm very confident in Denver's defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we agree on the line being low. I made this 8.5, so I'm even more bullish on the Denver side for the matchups than you. But like I said, the spot really bothers me. But
the spot bothers me too. When you come off the Kansas City win, that's the biggest win the team has had probably in years.
Yeah,
you're beating Kansas City, and then you go into a bye, potentially looking at a 1 seed in the. Are they the 1 seed right now? Are they ahead of New England? No, they're not ahead of New England.
No, New England's one.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
So they're in the mix right now. And they've won 8 games in a row. We talked about with Chicago, where winning breeds confidence. I mean, this team is confident. They almost lost to the Raiders. They almost lost to Houston. Now, they should have lost to the Giants. They were in a dogfight with the Jets. But they're winning games. And when you're winning games, especially with a young team, you're gaining confidence. And their defense is legit. Their defense is awesome. Their defense is right up there with the Rams, with Seahawks, with Houston, with Cleveland, possibly Green Bay. Those are your top 5 or 6 defenses that will travel. And we talked about defenses that travel before when I mentioned the Niners who won't travel, or the Rams will go to Carolina and will travel. The Denver's got a championship caliber defense. They just don't have a championship caliber quarterback. They have an inconsistent quarterback who likes to overthrow receivers downfield and then run around. And you're asking a quarterback like that to win by margin. I could see this being like week 1 where it's a close game. It's 20-19 and they get a late score to cover. Or maybe 13-10 and they get a late score to cover. You're asking a quarterback to put up margin on the road when it's hard to do that. But I think their defense will absolutely shut down Mariota. I don't see Washington putting up much of a fight offensively.
Yeah, we agree with that. So we'll put them on
I'll put them on a maybe.
Yeah, we'll put them maybe. So we have 3 maybes, 4 definites, and we'll see what we think about this last game. Giants at the Patriots. Patriots are -7 or 7.5, depending on
7.5 in the circa.
Yeah, 7. Yeah, this line has dropped to 7, so that's that would look good if you like the Giants. Jackson Dart should be back. He practiced fully. Now he hasn't been fully cleared yet, but it seems with a full practice, seems like he's trending that way. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't play in this game. So that that would lead me to like the Giants here, because Jackson Dart has been really competitive for the most part. He can use his legs and such, and he's been a pleasant surprise, much better than people expected. Now he doesn't have all the weapons like he did before. Even like Cam Scatabo is out, which hurts. But I still think it's he can still be around to maybe get a backdoor cover if he needs it. But given that the Patriots lost Will Campbell and also their left guard, now Jarrett Wilson, the left guard wasn't that good, but still their entire left side of the offensive line is banged up and out. And then the right tackle Morgan Moses was in and out of the lineup last week, and I assume he's gonna play. He missed practice with an illness, but that could just be a stomach bug or something. So he should be fine. But still, missing the entire left side of the offensive line against Giants pass rush, which is like the strength of the team, should bode well for the Giants. Also, we talked about this before, where a coordinator was fired and the players will play harder because they don't want the finger pointed at them. So I'm looking at the Giants here as a medium-sized play for me. I don't know if this can make the card, but it'll be in consideration. What do you think about this game?
I like it at 7.5. I'm considering it in the Super Contest as well at +7. This game and the Broncos game to me are I'm not sure which one I like better. I obviously always like getting points better than laying points, 7.5, I think, is a good number. Obviously, the market's now 7. I think that line should be 6.5. I made the line 6.5. We know the strengths and weaknesses of these teams. The Giants' weakness is their run defense, or at least it has been their run defense. New England can't run the football. I know they've had one, maybe two good games running the football. For the most part, it's been May throwing the ball downfield, which has been very impressive. But now he lost his left tackle. And you mentioned other guys on the line getting banged up. And the Giants have rushed the passer well. So if they can make this uncomfortable for May, throwing the ball downfield, I think that's something that can kind of limit New England's offense. Also, we saw how bad last week New England was in goal line situations, which was pretty pathetic. I don't know how many times in a row they don't want to run a QB sneak. But by the way, this is becoming a trend. So we try to look for these. I try to look for short yardage. My biggest flaw with the Rams has been their short yardage offense. We talk about red zone offense for teams like Houston and New Orleans that I mentioned earlier. Teams that just simply can't score in these short goal line situations. I told you a couple times today with the Chiefs. Last week they won 1 for 6 in the red zone. Today they weren't great in the red zone either. New England hasn't been good in the red zone. They haven't been good in short yardage situations. And now they're missing their left tackle. I want to look up their red zone. I know they've been good on third down. A lot of those have been third and kind of the longer variety. On red zone, though, they're 19th in the league at 54, just under 55%. So they're slightly below average in the red zone this season, and that's something that worries you if you're laying points. The other thing that I look at in this game is the back door. The Giants are a team that fights. The Giants, there's no reason why if they're down 14, they can't score and lose by 7 or go for 2 and maybe lose by 6 or 8. So to me, they're a team that will fight. They're a team that's been losing close games. You've asked a few times when we've talked about the Giants, who's going to move the ball? Who's going to do this? Like, well, Wendell Robinson's been just fine. Theo Johnson's just fine. These guys are making plays. Dart will make plays with his legs. I question whether or not Dart will run because the guy's coming off the concussion. Will they allow him to run? Are they going to call design running plays? If you have a 3rd and 6, is he going to take a shotgun QB draw? Is he going to use his body to try to score when he's in the red zone if it's a goal line situation? Will he take the ball 3rd and goal from the 5 and spread the offense out and run the ball up the middle? I don't know. So if he's not going to do that, he becomes limited to throwing and not using his legs. That's obviously a detriment to his game. So that's a big question mark. Guy coming off concussion, maybe they just don't want to use him in the running game at all. But otherwise, I think the Giants are a good play here. 7.5, I think, is a good number. Backdoor is open. Patriots lacking left side of the offensive line could hinder them. I think this game is going to be stupidly close. Again, would it surprise you if the Giants had a lead and blew it? Of course not, right? And if they have a lead, you're good on your 7.5 points. So I think the Giants, to me, are a better play at 7.5 than laying points with Denver. Or dare I say taking a team like Tennessee or the Raiders. So if we had 4 with Houston, Cleveland, Rams, and Seattle, I'd advocate for the Giants getting 7.5 before the others. I would still try to talk you into Buffalo because I think 3 is a bargain. But I like the Giants getting 7.5 points here better than the others for the reasons just mentioned.
All right. Well, I think we have our card. So let me put this up here. So here it is. The 8 Sixers. Houston plus 4.5. Rams minus 10.5. Browns plus 5.5. Seattle minus 12.5. Giants plus 7.5. Does that look good? Our maybes, by the way, Titans, Raiders, Broncos.
Yeah, I don't like the maybes. When you look at it from that perspective, I like having more dogs here than favorites. I want to get back to my roots generally on the dogs, even though favorites have been better throughout the year. I don't want to change my handicapping style. We talked about this middle of last year. So maybe there is an overlying philosophical change that needs to happen overall. But I like my dogs. I like getting points. I think it's hard to win in the NFL, let alone to win by margin. So when you're giving me 7.5 or 5.5 or Texans at 4.5, I think those are good plays. And until last week, we got burned by the back door, and of course the Lions that just didn't show up against the Giants. We said last week we've been pretty good laying these double-digit favorites, so I'm okay with the Rams and Seahawks there. But I still think the Bills. I don't want to talk you from a contest perspective, but hopefully I'll talk you out of taking Pittsburgh and any of your other cards or bets.
Okay. All right. Maybe. Well, I'll think about it. But yeah, three pluses and 2 minuses here. What is happening?
Yeah, good. That's the way it should be.
We always take the favorite. So it
Yeah.
feels wrong. It feels
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah. So all right. Well, that's about it. Unless you have anything to add. Anything else before we head out?
Well, I really would like for you to talk me out. I know you don't want to be the cause of my $18.7 million ticket. You want to see it
No.
on the private jet when we go out to Vegas to collect the giant check. And with Andy picking us up on the tarmac with his new car that we're going to buy for him when we win Circle the Survivor. Andy, I'm going to buy you a car with air conditioning if you're listening, so that we don't have to kill me the next time we drive from the Tuscany to the Westgate. No, I hope you could talk me out of the Dolphins because I'm really considering using them because I'm trying to get smart and have my wild card, my Rams in my pocket. And I don't know if I'm able to share my screen at all.
You can.
Something here. Where is this here? Share screen. If you can log in, if you can zoom in on what I'm showing you here. This is the Evans Gaming availability look. And these are the teams that I have available. Mm-hmm. So if you look at week 17, at least, the week 17 column is very, very, very difficult. So I know somebody threw out before looking at New England or Seattle, you notice New England and Seattle's line items do not exist. Yep. This is the calendar. This is the everybody. Mm-hmm. But we're looking at, of course, this side. So Atlanta Rams, I have both sides available, and that's what we're talking about here for saving the Rams. I was looking at the Giants Raiders game because my thought process was I'll be in Vegas and I can go to the game and I can live bet the game before the live odds are moving.
Yeah.
And I can have a nice big fat credit line and live bet the hell out of that game.
Yeah.
So if I have equity in that game and I'm 2 games away, I can literally sit at Allegiant Stadium before lines are moving and go crazy. So that's just one option to consider is the Giants-Raiders game, but who the heck wants to take Giants? I don't even know. I mean, I assume the Giants would be a very tiny favorite in that game. Maybe not. Miami, Tampa Bay, I wouldn't want any part of that. Jacksonville at Indy, I don't have Indy, and I'd probably burn Jacksonville in either week 15 or save them for week 18. Dallas, Washington, remember, is a Christmas game, as is Kansas City and Denver. Mm-hmm. So I can't use those. Minnesota, if I wanted Minnesota in that Detroit game, that's another Christmas game. So who are you looking at here? You're looking at Pittsburgh at Cleveland. That's a terrible pick, right?
Yeah.
Tennessee, New Orleans. I don't want any part of Tennessee, New Orleans. It would really come down to Carolina against Seattle. No thanks. There's no way I'm taking Carolina. It would really come down to Burrow being healthy and using Cincinnati against Arizona. And somebody pointed out earlier that Cincinnati is, I think you did, Cincinnati is so bad against tight ends.
Yeah.
Like you could see Trey McBride just going off in that game.
Yeah, that's true.
Jets against New England, I obviously wouldn't use the Jets. Niners, Bears, I'll probably be using the Niners if I'm alive in week 15. Tampa Bay plays at Miami. I'm probably looking at Tampa next week against New Orleans.
Right.
And that's basically it. So if I burn the Rams now, I'm looking at Pittsburgh, Cleveland, or Cincinnati at versus Arizona.
Well, who are your options next week? If you don't take Tampa next week, you can.
Well, we looked at for next week taking Minnesota a few weeks ago, but Minnesota is just so bad, and Jaden's going to be back.
Yeah, why not Jaden against Minnesota?
Well,
why not?
You just don't know because Jaden's not going to play this week, and now all of a sudden Jaden's come back. I don't know anything about what his elbow looks like. Yes. So there's just too much uncertainty there, and then he's still going. It's still Washington's defense, which is garbage, and Minnesota's got a good defense, and of course it's in Minnesota. The other option would be Cleveland at home against Tennessee.
I was just looking at that.
Cleveland at Tennessee. By the way, the look-ahead line's 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think Cleveland's defense will shut down Tennessee, but now you're banking on their offense scoring enough to get margin. The answer is probably praying that Baker is okay because the advanced line is 8.5 against the Saints. And once again, talking about the Saints are just so bad.
Yeah.
I'm probably looking at Tampa. Originally, we were looking at Minnesota here and then saving Tampa Bay for week 16, which I don't love because it's a divisional game on the road.
Yeah.
and then using Kansas City for Christmas week. But now it's more like Tampa Bay week 14, Kansas City against Tennessee, and then taking Dallas on the road against Washington, which is also dangerous.
Mm.
But Kansas City could be eliminated by Christmas.
They could, yeah. Um, man, it's not. The Saints Buccaneers games, some of them tend to be close. Like last year, Week 18, Saints were leading in the fourth
I
quarter.
remember.
So that's a little dangerous. But yeah, I mean,
you agree the best option is having the Rams at Atlanta.
Yeah, if you can pull it off, yeah.
But of course, the Rams, by the way, if they beat Seattle, they would have locked up the division and probably the 1 seed. Now, I don't think they'll rest.
Why probably the 1 seed? Because the Eagles beat them. So, the Eagles have to lose again, I guess, for that to happen. And the Eagles, they play Washington twice. They do play Buffalo, but that's week 17, so they may not know. Although that's before the Monday night game.
Eagles play at Chargers, Raiders, at Washington, at Buffalo, Washington again.
Right. So,
well, the Eagles need to win tomorrow, right? This is all
right. Yes, this does not matter if the Eagles lose.
Yeah, listen, they don't give away $18.7 million for nothing, right?
No. Well, someone's going to win it.
I think about 30 to 40 people are going to split it. Now, if the Eagles lose tomorrow, you're down to 49.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, then
if the
Eagles
win tomorrow, I don't think anyone's even going to go through the end.
Yeah, you're going to have an outright winner. Yeah,
I think there'll be an outright winner before you even get to week 18.
That's probably true. Yeah.
So taking the Rams, saving the Rams is my wild card. If I can get through this week without using the Rams, I'm in great shape for week 17 when most people are not.
Well, here's the question. Do you like Miami over New Orleans or better than Arizona over Cincinnati?
That's exactly what I was going through tonight. I was going through in my head what the spread would be. And what the spread would be, I would say Cincinnati, Arizona is probably somewhere around 4.
Depends how. If Cincinnati beats Buffalo and then Baltimore again,
then there'll be more than 4. It could be 6.
Yeah. Right.
Well, we know what the spread is now. Miami is minus 5.5, 6, depending on where you shop.
Yeah, but they should be 1.5.
You have them 1.5.
Yes, or maybe 2.5. Less than 3. This should be less than 3, somewhere in there.
You would agree that if Burrow is healthy, Cincinnati should be favored by at least 3.5 points.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, I mean, if what would I make the line? I'd make the line 5.5.
Okay. Now remember, if they're healthy, now if they don't win these games, if they lose, let's say they lose to Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they lose 2 of the next 3 games. They lose to Buffalo, maybe they lose to Baltimore.
Yeah.
They're out. They're eliminated.
Right.
They're still there's no reason why they would shut down Burrow. If he's healthy, he's gonna play.
Yeah.
I told this to you guys a couple of weeks ago. If Burrow is healthy, he's playing. Maybe week 18, maybe not. But week 17, he's playing. By the way, was he high tonight? Because they talked to him before the game. They also talked to him after the game. And he was giving this very monotone answers. It was like, yeah, kids play to watch. We get paid a lot to play a
kids
game. A kids game, and kids are watching us play. And I'm just excited to get back to play with the guys. Like, Joe, how do you think you played tonight? You guys won? Like, what'd you guys do? Yeah, I'm just really happy to be with the guys. As Jamar Chase is scarfing down turkey legs.
Right.
And Joseph Asai is like spitting all over the microphone. And Burrow is standing there holding like crab legs of some sort. I don't even know what that is. And he's like, what is this food? He's like, no, I'm from Maryland. That's like a crabfish of some sort. And you got to pull up the legs. Like, oh, shit, that's nasty.
Yeah.
He just looked like he was high tonight. But I think Burrow would play. Whether they're eliminated or not, I see no reason why they wouldn't give an effort, at least.
Yeah.
And theoretically, Arizona is also eliminated by then. So, we're talking about 2 teams that are eliminated.
Right.
That's the question. Do I like Miami now better, or do I like Cincinnati better? And in a vacuum, I like Cincinnati better because I trust their offense.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Here's a crazy scenario. What if Daniel Jones is knocked out for the year, and that's Jacksonville at Riley Leonard? Think about that.
I can't see myself taking Jacksonville in that spot. I
Yeah.
imagine if I get to that point, I would say I want to take Jacksonville week 17, week 18.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're gonna have some team resting their starters week 18. It's gonna happen. What like the Rams rest of starters? I don't know who they're playing, but they're playing Arizona. So like, if that's what Garoppolo against Arizona, I don't know.
Oh my god, I wouldn't even look at the game if Jimmy Garoppolo. No chance.
No. I'm saying Arizona over Garoppolo.
No,
Oh,
I don't
you
care.
already used our. You already
I
used
think
Arizona.
it's irrelevant. And there's
You already
no
used
way I'm looking at. I wouldn't bet the game. I wouldn't look at the game.
Okay.
No, and I don't have the teams anyway. I don't have Arizona or the Rams, so it's fine.
Right.
No, I mean I could take Atlanta against New Orleans in Week 18.
Sure.
There's other options in Week 18. I mean, if I didn't take Cincinnati, I could take Cincinnati in Week 18 too. Although I don't love it if they're not, against that defense. I'm not worried about Week 18 right now. Week 18, if I'm alive in Week 18,
Yeah, it's a good.
I have major hedging opportunities. I'm fine.
Yeah. I agree.
But the real question is now, is this New because I said a few weeks ago, I'm like, we could take Miami in Week 13, and someone's like, well, yeah, maybe. And then I was told, well, we can look at Jackson. I'm like, yeah, I really want to take the divisional road game. I'd rather take the home team here than the road team, even though the spread is basically the same. But the more I think about it, I kept saying all week, if Burrow comes back and they look viable, and it looks like they have a real chance to be favored by more than 3 in that game, I think taking the 10-point favorite now is just, it's too hard to pass up on.
I feel the same way. And to your point earlier about Week 18, I mean, if you make it to post-Christmas Week 17, the Christmas games are before, right?
Yes, Christmas is 17A.
Yeah. So if you make it to post-Christmas Week 17, like that's great hedging opportunities too. Like,
yes,
that's a good problem to have too. So,
and the Circa Casino is so great that they're willing to give credit lines based on your equity.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So,
I mean, it's great for them. Smart for them. They're they're taking more action. That's what they want. They're in business to do that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And they're also customer friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of the
casinos
are not.
Great. Circa's great. Yeah.
Circa's amazing. Most of the casinos don't want to have anything to do with this.
Yeah. Westgate, they're trying to cheat me into taking contests I couldn't play.
Right. I remember that.
That's unbelievable. I can't believe it. They're gay. We're going to take your money. Oh, but you can't play the contest. Sorry.
You sent me a thing about boosts. I said FanDuel's giving me a boost. I can't boost. I can't bet more than $20.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? I'm not looking at the lines to bet a $20 boost.
Yeah. BetMGM's been great with boosts, by the way. They allow $100 bets on boosts recently, so that's nice.
Anyway, that's the scoop. That's my only thought process as we go into praying that the Eagles could win tomorrow. I mean, if the Eagles lose tomorrow, 4 dogs going out in this holiday weekend,
that'd be crazy.
Really kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think you have to know you made the right play.
At this point, I feel great about my not picking the Ravens. Right. So whatever happens. If the Eagles lose, the contest would be down to 49 people, where every share is worth $382,000.
That's crazy.
If the Bears lose, my entry is worth $36,000, and we're down to 510 players, which is we'd be out 97.28% of the pot would be out.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, which is what you kind of expect. Once you get to Thanksgiving, I've said all along that once we get to Thanksgiving, that's when we kind of start taking this real seriously. I'm not overly confident in the Eagles because I don't love their offense. And the Bears have gotten lucky. And at some point, you have to stop saying the team is lucky. They're winning games. Every year, there's teams that are lucky that make playoffs and that don't necessarily belong. And this year, the Bears will be one of those teams. Should they beat the Eagles off a loss? No. And then we have to get by the Rams or Dolphins. And then next week, got to hope Baker is healthy and they can beat the Saints. And next week, I think I'm okay Niners-Titans, although I lost Niners-Titans 3 years ago and lost in 10th place. That was the game I lost, Niners-Titans. So Andy mentioned that last night, and then I quickly shut my computer and ran away from it. And then we talked about Week 16. right? Do I save the Chiefs for the Christmas game against Denver? Not an easy game. Or do I take the layup and take the Chiefs against the Titans in week 16 and then go back to the well with Dallas, who already killed Washington, but now would be in Washington with Jaden. So I know they beat.
You're both available, right?
Yes, I have both available. So theoretically, if somebody got hurt, I'd have both sides.
Yeah, that's a good spot to be in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'd have Jacksonville available for week 18, Tennessee. So there's still a lot of tough games to go. All we can do with Survivor is really plan the path, giving us options and trying to be in a position where we have a 7-point favorite.
Yeah.
That's all we can do. If I can have a 7-point favorite every game, obviously you want to, the Christmas week, that's going to be the tough one. Do I go back to week 16 and not take Kansas City? I stopped my share, but I don't have a lot of options in week 16 if I don't take Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of bad games. Right? New Orleans plays the Jets, so I can't touch that.
Right.
I'm not going to take Carolina, who's at home against Tampa Bay, and I potentially would have used Tampa Bay already. Giants play Minnesota. A few weeks ago, we're thinking like, oh, Minnesota. But no way.
No, yeah, I'd rather take the Giants than the Vikings.
I would rather take the Giants too, especially as that's in New York. But do I want to pick the Giants? Just find ways to lose. So right. I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
So I feel like in that spot, given how hard that week would be, and I don't love Kansas City, Denver. That's a close game. Denver plays them tight.
Sean Payton's like 14-3 against Andy Reid. Yeah.
I would rather just take the layup, take Kansas City the week before against Tennessee, and take my chances with Dallas. In my head, Dallas, who I think has been playing Dallas on a roll.
They are. Yeah, they look great.
And even if Dallas loses next week, I think Dallas beats Minnesota and the Chargers in Dallas. So they'd be playing that Washington game basically for a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just hope that Jaden. I hope that Jaden doesn't come back. It looks like he's going to come back, but I really wish that he wouldn't.
Yeah. I would go Kansas City week 16. Thinking about.
Yeah, I think that's the easy choice, and that's very similar to right now saying screw Tua. Don't get cute with Tua. Just take the Rams, take the 10. And if the Rams lose, whatever. That's the least stupid I would feel because I'm taking the best team in the league or a top 3 team in the league as a 10-point favorite. If you're going to lose on that, you gave it a good effort.
Yeah, and I think you made the right moves if you take the Rams because
right.
Yeah, like I said, we getting to week 17B is is a good problem to have.
Exactly.
At that point, you're in Vegas. You're hedging already.
Right. Right. So,
yeah.
And I've done unbelievable in my hedges.
Yeah.
Like really. I've covered a very, very good amount. And I'm very good. We talk about live betting all the time. It's probably the one thing that I know a lot of professional bettors, people that I know in Vegas, people like Andy and people who are betting for a living that I talk to on a regular basis. I've really made a name for myself with some of these people with my live betting. You see how I take advantage of algorithms, whether it's FanDuels or live team totals, things that are a little bit more obscure, and also not being afraid to take will the game be tied? Will it go into overtime? Give me a dog plus 750. Taking some of those big shots and then hedging it immediately that when you can.
Mm-hmm.
I take advantage of that. When I'm playing with equity on Survivor, like last week I had Jets plus 14. Now I did play it during the game and I played a 10.5 as well. I actually had a 7.5 as well and I lost those, but I won the 14, which I had pre-game. And with the Ravens kicking a field goal late, that was a very, very good win. I had Tennessee a couple of times, live team total overs, spreads. I did this against the Chargers. The game I lost, Tennessee, Arizona, I covered a bunch of buy-ins for next year.
Mm-hmm.
So, having the equity, people say, it's stupid. You're not going to win. You got to go through all the way. You're throwing $5,000, $6,000 down the drain. I'm like, actually, no, I'm not. I'm using the equity. I'm up significantly more on those entries. And if you can, and at some point, I'm going to sell shares.
Yeah.
At some point, there are people who want to buy in. People have been asking me already to buy in. I've declined thus far. I have two friends who are partners with me in smaller stakes, of course, but people that have allowed to buy in from day one. Two of my good friends who I know whose opinions I respect, but I'm not selling shares yet. But if I got a little bit further down the road, I would sell shares instead of hedging more like I did a few years ago. I would sell shares. And people are I know people now who have been already begging me to buy in 2%, 5%, 10%, whatever that case may be. And I'll figure that out as we get down. But right now, the equity is like only 35,000 an entry. I'm not going to start really selling shares until we're talking about six figure equity. And then we'll see. So if I lose tomorrow with the Eagles, it's been fun. It would suck. I'd be pissed off for the entire weekend. But, this is what we always say: get to Thanksgiving and see where you land.
Yeah, you'll sleep better at least. That's the one upside.
Yeah, I don't sleep. I woke up yesterday. I was having dreams about the Eagles and the Dolphins. Yeah.
I get that. I get that too.
I woke up like thinking the game already started. Like, am I down already? What was the score? I totally forgot. I felt like the game was ongoing, and I don't know if I made my pick or if I got the right pick in. And it was very weird because now there's two games. I'm literally dreaming about Eagles and Dolphins. Like
this is exactly what happens to me in those Sunday morning games. Exactly. So I stopped betting. I can't do it anymore. I just can't. I dreamed that the Vikings were up on the Steelers 17-3. I wake up and I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, I'm winning this bet. I'm like, wait, I don't know what the score is. I have to check. So yeah, I definitely hear your pain there. So I have 5 entries in the DraftKings Survivor, still alive. So I'm looking to sell shares of that. Maybe those professional bettors can buy shares with my shares that are worth $32 right now. So
maybe I'll buy some shares.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, you said 100K, which would when would that be, like week 15 or so, week 16, week 15?
If I map it out. Now, assuming the Eagles win, if the Eagles win, we'd be down to 28. We'd be down 28 more people. It's 500. The rule of thumb is that every 2 sessions, you probably lose about 40%. Thereabout. So we'd be down to 500. After week 15, we'd probably be down to about 300, be my guess. And then after Christmas, we'd probably be down to like 150. And then that takes you into 17, 18. So I still think you're going to have between 40 to 70 people alive in week 18. Now, of course, unless the Eagles lose. If the Eagles lose, all bets are out.
That's true.
And of course, I have no idea what people are going to take. We might lose more than that Christmas week because there's not a lot of teams to take. And you might get completely split 50-50 picks or 60-40 picks just based on people not having teams available.
Yeah, you could have some guys not having any options.
Right. So if there's 50 people left in week 18, you're talking about 400,000 per entry.
Yeah.
So what I would do there is in week 17B, I'd probably play 30 to 50,000, and final game maybe 100, somewhere in that ballpark. It's not even about, yes, obviously it's about the money. I mean, I want to win so bad, right? I just want to be in that final mix with Derek Stevens, with some of those guys at Circa. I just think that'd be so cool, so much fun. If you told me it was 250,000 or 450,000, great, cool, right? At some point, even if it's 750,000 or $1 million, okay, yeah, it's good money. I have, like I said, I have 2 partners that take 25, 10 and 15%. So I'm only 75% of my entry anyway. And then you pay taxes. So money gets split up. When we lost week in 10th place a couple of years ago, the entry was worth about 1.2 million. I think 5 people won $6 million pot. We would have won our week 17 pick with the Super Bowl team. They were giving out a bonus if you use the Super Bowl team in week 18. So in that year we had saved Tampa for the last week. So we were looking at like 1.2 million, and someone's like, oh, how do you feel? Like, well, I was only like 65%. So I'm only really 800,000, and 800,000 is really only 400,000 after taxes. So it's like, all right, it's a lot of money, but it's not 6 million.
Right.
If 50 people make it to the end and it's 375 a pop, it's not 10 million.
Right.
I would much rather have God, I don't want to say have the Bears, but 28 people have the Bears, And they're thinking if they go ahead, if they win tomorrow, and that's probably why the people took the Bears,
Mm-hmm.
they're in huge business because now
Oh,
there's less than 50 people left at week 13. That's unbelievable.
yeah. Yeah. That'd be crazy.
Grant, this is what I told you would be over. 3 people got knocked out and 3 are left with the Eagles. Those 3 people are in business because their entry is worth 1.1 million today, and they can bet on the Eagles tomorrow, knowing that if the Eagles lose, they win, because then 6 people would chop 1.15 each.
Oh, it would just be over. Or they don't
It'll be
continue.
over. That's
They
it.
all
No,
lost.
over.
Okay.
If the Eagles lose tomorrow, the Grandissimo is split 6 ways, 1.15 million to each person, and that's it. So if I'm a player tomorrow with the Eagles, I'm betting $250,000 on the Eagles money line, thinking, hey, if the Eagles win, I win money. I win my entry fee back.
Yeah,
if the Eagles lose, I lose my $250,000, but I just gained 1.15, so I'm winning either way.
Right.
And if I like the Eagles to win, great. Let me bet $250,000 on the Eagles, no problem. Take 100,000 home and move on to the next week.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, "Oh, they're going to chop." Like, I promise you, they're not chopping. I guarantee. I would bet everything I have that they're not chopping. At least not right now. They're not chopping. These people are putting up $100,000.
Yeah,
about oil tycoons and Arabian princes. You think they care about the $1 million? They're coming in here for prestige. They're not chopping the pot. They're not thinking like you and me. Like, all right, if they were chopping the pot with 8 weeks, 7 weeks to go, they're not putting up $100,000 to buy into the contest to begin with.
Right. Yeah. It's like a fantasy league, like one of the home fantasy leagues. Hey, do you want to split up like $800 as the grand prize? It's like, I actually just care about the trophy more than that.
Exactly. Right. You're not there for the money. You're there for the prestige and the winning.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I remember when I asked the pot years ago when there were 40 of us after Thanksgiving, like now, Dallas lost to the Raiders and there were 40 people left after Thanksgiving. And it was a $6 million pot. And I suggested to everybody, and I knew a lot of the guys, and the guys that I didn't know ended up getting word. And I wrote, let's take $1 million out of the pot. Everybody gets 25,000. We'll play for 5 million.
Yeah.
And I was laughed at.
Really?
I was flat out laughed at. People were like, what are you talking about? Like, what do we want 25,000 for? And the casino actually tweeted in response to my tweet of, we're not facilitating this. You guys are on your own.
Wow. Okay.
And then 2 years later, now they're very happy to facilitate chops.
Sure.
They'll pay it out however you want to pay it out. But 3 years ago, they're like, nope, we're paying one winner. You guys deal with it on your own after that. You got to get lawyers involved. And it was just too complicated. And I said, why are we not taking 25,000 out of the pot for everybody? Who cares? Play for 5 million instead of 6. And I was literally laughed at. When it was later, when it was 16 of us left, the week before I lost, then people started thinking like, okay, let's think about it. And a few of us were talking like, okay, I'll take a share of you, you'll take a share of me. And then it just became too complicated.
Yeah.
Because then we really would have needed to get lawyers involved. So now we're talking about real money. And we didn't know each other other than, in passing. A few of us met a few times or we would talk through social media, but it's not like we're talking to our friends. You're talking about tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're not just, hey, well, let's all split our shares. Like we'll all get, we'll all put in 10%. It's like that. What are we doing? You need lawyers and real paperwork to get that done. And the casino just laughed at us. And then I lost and hedged out a lot and cried that night. Tears down my face because the Tennessee Titans beat the Niners. Oh, man. And not because I'm a Niner fan.
Hopefully tears of joy this time.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be
anyway.
I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. So
Team Evan, you want to come on that jet and watch Andy pick us up on the tarmac.
Yes, I want all my stuff on the front lawn, but it'll be fun until I get home.
Exactly. All right, fly Eagles fly. That's all I got.
Let's go Eagles. Hopefully they win and we move forward to week 13B. But yeah, all right, guys, thanks for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. Thank you, especially to John Sanders for the 411 super chat. Really appreciate it, John. Glad to hear that. Well, not glad to hear that you're concerned about the Bengals, but as I thought you might be. So, all right, guys, we're gonna be back tomorrow night with Tom. Kind of a different show. We don't cover all the games necessarily. We'll touch on them like a little bit, but we're only going to talk about the games we like as we fill out our card, and then we tend to talk about nonsense, like we were talking about like McDonald's and other fast food places last week, and just random stuff. So otherwise, please hit like, subscribe, comment below. below, share this video, visit walterfootball.com for tons of content. Evan, as always, great to do this video with you, and glad that we have a promising card together here with 3 underdogs. So, all right, guys, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you have a great Black Friday if you're shopping. If not, enjoy the college football, and I will talk to you tomorrow night.